going to do it. I know a lot of Giants fans are down in the dumps today, but we'll see. It's still young. It's still early in the free agent process. We'll see how it all plays out. But stand up, New York Giant fans. Of course, news from around the league today. Not a ton of mega moves yet for the New York Giants. The Giants made a couple of minor moves, a couple of small moves. I still think Joe Shane's got something in his back pocket. We've heard rumors about Brian Burns potentially being a potential target for the New York Giants. I think he would fit the time frame of this team. As I said, I think they're going to go for younger players. You saw them do that with John Runyan. And he's 25 going on 26. So he's a guy that could be here for 4 or 5 years. And, of course, a lot of that would depend on what the compensation would be. But Brian Burns, one of the better edge rushers in the league, you would think it helped Kayvon Thibodeau and the rest of this defensive line for the New York Giants. And we'll see if that comes to fruition. Also, Saquon Barkley, Xavier McKinney, no longer New York Giants. I'm sure you've heard the news already if you're a New York Giant fan. And some fans are going to be up in arms about it. Some fans aren't. Listen, I love Saquon. I love him a little less today. I love him a little less today. And I listen, I'm not going to get on Saquon. There's no way anybody offered more than what the Philadelphia Eagles did. So I'm sure that was his highest offer. But as a Giants fan, yeah, I'm not going to – I wanted to root for the guy. He was a good guy. He was exactly what you wanted in New York Giant. Can't do that now. So I don't even want to say best of luck. You're an Eagle. I hope we kick the shit out of you. So bye-bye, Saquon Barkley, and you're an enemy now for the rest of your career, and we'll see how it all plays out. But Saquon signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it was for, I want to say it was $37.5 million. It could reach up to 46 with incentives, 26 million of which was guaranteed. And listen, maybe for a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, it makes sense. For the Giants, it does not. The Philadelphia Eagles are a team that they feel, obviously, they're in a Super Bowl window. They have a more established offensive line, and they feel they'll be able to maximize that contract, similar to what the San Francisco 49ers have tried to do with Christian McCaffrey. For the Giants, never made sense, especially to pay him that kind of money. There was no way the Giants were ever going to pay him that kind of money. I think, as a fan of Saquon and hoping in my heart of hearts that he would be back with all the talented running backs, I was hoping, maybe there wouldn't be a huge deal out there for him and he'd be able to come back, but Giants were never going to match a deal like that. He got a huge deal. Look at the other deals that running backs got. I think Pollard got $8 million a year on average, 3 years, $26 million. Same thing for $24 million, I should say. That seemed to be the going rate for the most part with the other running backs that have signed. The Giants bring in Devin Singletary, who, of course, is nowhere near Saquon. But I think you got to realize as a Giants fan, we're going to go more, with a committee approach. And they're going to try to build up this offensive line. In addition to that, the Giants brought in John Runyan. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to act like I'm super thrilled about the move. He's young. That's good, I guess. He could hopefully grow into something. A former 6th-round pick, of course, the former son of John Runyan, who used to play for the Philadelphia Eagles. He's been good by all accounts in pass protection. But obviously, the Giants still have a lot of work to do on that offensive line. And I think as Giants fans, we were hoping for a more prominent name at that position. We'll see if the Giants still look to address the offensive line, but he'll start for this team. And from what I read, he was decent with the Packers, but not a guy that's going to get me super excited. But I'm glad that they added another piece to the offensive line at a bare minimum, and we'll see how they continue to address that in the offseason, in free agency, and in the draft. Free agency is still not over. I'm sure the Giants could still make a number of moves, and they could restructure these deals with Dexter Lawrence, with Kayvon Thibodeau, so on and so forth. McKinney signs with the Packers for, I think, the exact amount that I predicted. Maybe I'm wrong. In my video when I talked about Xavier McKinney, I think I said 4 for $68 was what I expected him to get. And that's what he got. He got 4 years, $68 million, $17 million a year. I thought it would be right around there. I thought his agent would shoot for higher than that, $18, $19, $20 million a year. I didn't know if they would get that, but I thought that was what they would strive for. That was kind of the threshold for me as a fan that I would have been okay with bringing Xavier McKinney back, 4 years, 68. I didn't want to go higher than that. He ended up getting that. I didn't get to see what the guaranteed money is. I'm sure we'll go over that throughout the stream. He's young. I'm not surprised that he got a lot of money. He's 24 years old. But me as a fan, knowing all the holes that is currently on this New York Giants team, I would much rather invest in the pass rush, invest in the offensive line, and hopefully that's where Joe Shane's head is at. Thus far, he's made one offensive lineman signing. He's replaced Barkley with a guy that you figure is going to be part of a platoon, and now they're rumored to potentially be going after Brian Burns. So we'll see how that plays out. But thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you to everybody for being here. Hope you guys are doing well. And Bobwell's in the chat, Doctor in the chat, OG in the chat. We got King's Holt in the chat, Yo Elvis in the chat. Going to catch up with a couple of you guys. Bliss, A2, what's going on, man? Hoodie Trauma, what's going on, my man? McCann. Is hell frozen over for you guys yet? I'm sure a lot of Giants fans are panicking, as we always do when free agency first starts, but appreciate all you guys for being here. LA Sports says, what's going on, LA Sports? He says, if we get Brian Burns, look out. Kayvon opposite a 25-year-old Burns with Dex in the middle. Oh, my God, all aboard the Shane train. Listen, it would be exciting. It would definitely be exciting to add a pass rusher of his caliber to this defensive front. I think with the new defensive coordinator, he's going to strive to get as good of a defensive front 4 or 3 as he possibly can. We're not going to blitz nearly as much. So I always thought, especially after he came in, I always thought we were going to attack the edge in free agency. And I mean, technically it would be a trade, but that at least is the rumor that we're going after him right now. And the guy that I wanted, Bryce Huff, signed with the Eagles, not happy about that. Matter of fact, I'm a lot more upset about that than Barkley signing with the Eagles. Obviously, as a Giants fan, I'm going to hate seeing Barkley in an Eagles uniform, but I think that Bryce Huff actually is more important to that football team. Chris says we still need a cornerback badly. We do. And I think we're going to sign a corner at some point. Which guy it'll be, I don't know. Of course, we brought in the guy from the Jaguars a day or two ago. He's a solid corner. I expect someone like that, a veteran corner that the Giants could bring in here and man the fort for a few years as Deonte Banks continues to get better. Maybe you continue to supplement through the draft, but I do think we'll add a veteran corner at some point in free agency. And Jack says, really hope we get Brian Burns and get the guy from the that'd be nice, man. I don't know. Did you guys see the guard market? Holy hell. And listen, I love 300-pound men as much as the next guy. You guys know that if you watch my channel. I love the 300-pounders. But my God, dude, these guards are getting $21 million a year. And it is what it is. The market only goes up every year. But that's what you're going to have to shout if you want one of these guys, if you want one of the, upper tier. And we'll see if Joe Shane is willing to shop at that price. Diego says, Dex, Kayvon, and Burns, let's go. That would be a hell of a pass rush to start for the New York Giants. We'll see if we end up with it. Let's see. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for popping in the stream. Bliss, what's going on? He's a bargain bum. Who are you talking about? Runyan? 7. Lee says, did you see what Tiki Barber said about Saquon? I did not. I haven't got an opportunity to see it. I mean, I saw what he said about him a couple of weeks ago. I think he kind of hinted at that he wouldn't be. I forgot the exact wording, but I know he said that he wouldn't be happy, to put it lightly, if he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I did not get an opportunity to see what he said today, if he said anything. I'm sure he attacked him, but it is what it is. Saquon took the money. Independent says, did the Eagles hire Gettleman? They're spending like Charlie Bucket in the Curious if the big contracts will hurt Philly's cap. Listen, the Eagles are backloading. They feel they're in a championship window right now, and they're backloading to try to add pieces. It's similar to what the 49ers did with Christian McCaffrey when they traded for him. They feel like they have a championship roster. A guy like Saquon, much like the Niners felt with McCaffrey, is a player they feel that could put them over the top to put them in title contention. Will it work out? That remains to be seen. Obviously, they lost Jason Kelce. We'll see what the Eagles look like this year, but obviously that's going to add a lot more drama between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles rivalry. There's no doubt about that starting next year. Jason Benjamin says Runyan has been top 10. I know, yeah. That's what a lot of people said the last few years. He's kind of the opposite. It felt like the Gawinski signing to me. I'm not even going to lie when I initially saw it. But he's kind of the opposite. Like Gawinski was known more so for run blocking, much less so for pass blocking. Runyan's the opposite. He's known as a good pass blocker, not a good run blocker. I would like to find a lineman that's good at both, but beggars can't be choosers, and we'll see how it works out. I think it was $17 million guaranteed, which is not a whole lot when you see what these other guards are getting. He's still young. Hopefully he could be a nice piece to this offensive line. If he doesn't work out, he's a guy that you could clearly easily move off of, much like Gawinski after 2 years. Cruzon says, much reason to trade back now. I love the wide receiver and the O-line class. I also like Blake Corum. We need to trade back. I like Blake Corum too, but I'm not touching him anywhere near the first round. I don't think you're insinuating that, Cruzon. He'd be a nice piece if we added him. I don't know where he's projected to go. What, third round maybe? I wouldn't take him in the first 2 rounds. He's undersized at the running back position. But he could certainly be a really nice piece to a backfield. But as far as the rest, I mean, I'm not against the trade down, as I've said on recent streams, but it has to be for the right value. Like, I'm not trading down from 6 to 8 to get, a future second or third round pick. Like, if I'm trading back, I'm going to get I'm going to get a future first-round pick, which means I probably got to trade back to 12 or 13, which means one of those teams have to be wanting to jump up to number 6. And it's certainly possible, right? If the Denver Broncos love J.J. McCarthy, for example, they certainly could try to move up from 12 to 6. And if I get a future first for that, I'll at least entertain it. And I think a lot of it comes down to how strongly if they're going quarterback, of course, they're not trading down. They're going to stay right there. They're going to take the quarterback. But if they're not going quarterback, I think it comes down to how strongly they feel about the player that's available at 6. Are they head over heels in love with a Malik Neighbors? Are they head over heels in love with an Adunze or a Joe Alt or, insert name here? If they love that player, I think they probably stay there and take him. But if they like 3, 4, 5 players and could gather a future first-round pick in the process to give themselves more ammunition in the future, if they're not going to address the potential franchise quarterback this year, that's an option. And we'll see. We'll see what happens on draft night. Christian says, Chris, oh no, we suck again. Again? Let me rephrase that sentence for you, Christian. And what's going on, everybody? Thanks for popping in the stream. Let me rephrase that sentence for Christian. Chris, oh no, we still suck. We never didn't suck. We didn't suck for about a half a season and one playoff game 2 years ago. It's that we still suck. But hey, hopefully we can build this team. Hopefully we can build this team right and get this team out of poverty sooner than later, man. That's all you can hope as a Giants fan. And listen, I'm going to give Joe Schoen his 4 years, like I said, when we hired him, and we'll see what he's able to do in free agency. I'm glad that he didn't overpay for Saquon Barkley. I think he handled that properly. But hey, he's got some work to do in free agency. There's no doubt about it. There's no denying that, man. And we'll see how they address it. Just want to make sure I catch up with all you guys, man. Let's see. Thank you to everybody for being here. Hope you guys are having a great day. And yeah, I was excited following the free agency news throughout the day. Hopefully, I know you guys were too. Bill says, if Joe doesn't make major upgrades at this offensive line, it may end up eventually costing him his job. Enough is enough. It's going to cost him his job if he doesn't fix the offensive line. That goes without saying. Costed Jerry Reese's job, costed Dave Gettleman his job, and ultimately, if they don't fix the offensive line, it'll cost Joe Schoen his job. You can't win in the NFL with the worst offensive line in the league. And the Giants, 2 years in, still have the worst offensive line in the league. Now, maybe you could argue it's not the worst, that Thomas missed half the season or however many games he missed. Even if it's not the worst, it's among the worst. And he better get this offensive line right. Whether, it's got to improve this year and it's got to improve the year after that. I don't expect the finished product this year. But hey, listen, man, you invested the 7th overall pick in Evan Neal. Okay? You invested the 7th overall pick in Evan Neal. If he doesn't work out, you better find an answer fast to fix this offensive line. Because if you don't, he will be without a job. It's inevitable. So I agree. It will cost him his job if he doesn't fix this offensive line sooner than later. He's got probably 2 more years to do it. And we'll see if he's able to make some upgrades this offseason going into next. And you got to hope these other guys, the Yazudus of the world, the offensive line coach that we brought in, could help improve this offensive line. And we'll see how it works out this year, year 3 with the Joe Schoen regime. Sam, what's going on? Was never a fan of paying Saquon and X what they got as 2 players who don't play premium position. I have full confidence in this field office going forward. Listen, I'm a huge Saquon fan. I think if I was Joe Schoen, I would have handled the Saquon situation the same exact way he did. Last year, I would have tried to get a deal done. But supposedly what Shane offered is around what I would have offered. I think, by all accounts, he offered about $22 million guaranteed. I would have wanted him back for that. It amounted to 2 tags. I think it was appropriate for the situation the team was currently in going into last year. But off of last season, when people told me that we should sign Saquon, I said, there's no way we're going to sign Saquon. There's no pressure this year to sign him. He got hurt again. The team didn't play well. He's a year older. The offensive line regressed. There was no way. The only way we were bringing back Saquon is if the market was significantly less than what it was today, and the Eagles paid him a fortune, a lot more than I thought he would get. $26 million guaranteed. And listen, again, like I said at the top of the stream, I would normally say best of luck. I understand why Saquon took the deal that he did. A lot of people are going to say it's out of vengeance. I don't think it's out of vengeance. I mean, maybe partially, but I don't think anybody was matching that deal. I think it was the best offer he was going to get. So he elected to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, and we'll see him twice a year for the rest of his career. We'll see how it works out. JD says, new offensive guard value makes it more likely to try Neal at guard. Possible. That's definitely, I don't know if I'd call it a surprise, but I expected the top end of the guard market to be in that $16 to $17 million range. It's been 20 now. That seems to be where the going rate is now for these premium guards or the best available guards in free agency. I didn't think it would reach those levels. It's a bit higher. It's kind of it's kind of similar to the D tackle last year. I didn't think that market would be quite as high as it was going into free agency. It exceeded my expectations. The wide receiver market was actually lower, obviously due in large part to the fact that there were not premium wide receivers available. But yeah, the guard market's a bit higher than I thought it would be. I don't necessarily think that means that they'd be more inclined to move Neal to the guard or not. Brazil is going to come in here. He's going to identify where he feels Neal is best suited to play at for this team this year. If they feel he's best suited at the tackle, they'll probably start him there. But I think they have to have a much shorter leash on Neal than they have in the past. If he's not getting the job done, yeah, I think at some point you're going to have to experiment. But my guess is he gets his start at the tackle, but wouldn't be shocked at all if he ends up getting, if he ends up shifting. But, you look at the market today at what guards are getting paid, $21 million a year on average. How good? And I'm not saying Joe Shane has been incredible. He hasn't. He certainly had some misses. He's still he's a complete unknown. I think he's a smart guy. I think he has a plan, but it doesn't mean the plan is going to work out. But how good does that extension for Andrew Thomas look now? Last year, you extended Andrew Thomas. I think it was for $24 million a year on average. Maybe it was 25. I think it was 24. That's almost the going rate for a guard the next year. That was a left tackle. And they got him up to the age of 30 for the next 6-7 years. That was by far Joe Shane's best move since he's taken over as the general manager for the New York Giants. I know he didn't draft Andrew Thomas, but to identify that this is when I should make my move and extend this guy, I'm glad that Joe Shane did it when he did it, because that's what good teams do. They think ahead, they plan accordingly, and he was certainly a guy that you had to anticipate was going to be a long-term piece for this team at a premium position. So you see the guard market today, it just makes the Andrew Thomas signing look better and better. Nelly, what's going on? Good to see you. Says Tana, I was so hurt seeing Barkley go to the Eagles. Why the Eagles? X is gone. So we were finally doing the full rebuild now. I need this pain to be worth it. We all need the pain to be worth it. But listen, I was depressed about Saquon Barkley for about 6 seconds. And then I saw the deal. I said Eagles. Obviously, I'm not happy he went to the Eagles. But I saw the deal. I said, okay. Okay. There was no way we were ever going to pay that for him. No way. $38 million guaranteed over 3 years, which could reach 46. No way. With all the other holes that we have, where we're going to pay a 27-year-old running back that. It's going to hurt to see him play well on the Eagles, as I'm sure he will. They got a great offensive line. We'll see how they do without Kelsey. They extended Dickerson today as well, their guard. But I'm sure he'll do well there. He's going from one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive lines in football to, if not the best, one of the best offensive lines in football. So I'm sure he's going to do well there. It is what it is, but it didn't make sense for the Giants to pay him that money. And as a fan, that's all I really care about. Does it make sense for my team? And it didn't. Not for the market that he ended up getting. Why would we pay a running back that kind of money when we can't block for him? When he's 27. It's not like he's 24. Didn't make sense. So it didn't make sense for the Giants. It made more sense for the Eagles because they have a more developed roster. Connor says, Chris, my dog's name is Barkley. What do I do? Connor, my dog's name was Tiki Barber, or Tiki. I named my first dog Tiki as a kid. Truth. My favorite player growing up as a kid. Tiki Barber threw the organization under the bus. Tiki Barber threw Tom Coughlin under the bus, threw Eli Manning under the bus. I got over it. So I promise you will get over it. Okay? I promise you. But what's up, Connor, man? Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Listen, at the end of the day, I root for the team. I don't root for the players. I mean, I root for the players as they're Giants, and I still think Saquon's a great guy. I'm not going to, rag on him, but I'm certainly not going to be rooting for him either. Bob says, I'm calling it, Chris. Sunday night opener 2024 Eagles-Giants. I hope not, man. I don't want to play. I want to get can we just get a nice, somewhat, I won't say any opponent's easy for the Giants, but a much more winnable opponent week one. Can we get Washington home? Can we get that? Can we get a lollipop game week one? That's what I'm hoping for. Will says, would you swap first round picks with Cincy if Higgins was in the trade? Where is Cincinnati picking? My quick answer to you is probably not, because of how much you'd have to pay Higgins and how strong this class is at the wide receiver position. But I don't even know where they're picking. Let me see. They're picking relatively high, right? Because they missed the playoffs. Let me see. Let's see. They are picking 18. No. I'm not dropping from 6 to 18 to have to pay T. Higgins $22, $23 million a year, where if I want a wide receiver, I could stay at 6, take Neighbors, pay him a fraction of that. No, I would not do that. I would not drop to 18 to have to commit $22+ million a year to T. Higgins. No, I would not do that. No. Let's see. David, what's going on, man? I think Runyan will be a good pickup. Of course, after last year, anyone has to be better than Blawinski and Bredesen. Go get Burns, Joe. Big Blue for life. What's going on? Good to see you, Vibes, man. Hope you're doing well, man. But David, going back to what you had to say, I mean, he can't be. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be worse than Glowinski. I just hope he has a significant impact, and we'll see. He's young. He was more of the second, maybe even potentially third tier guy at that position. So he's not gonna make you super excited, but hopefully he's a guy that can produce for this team. We certainly need all the help that we could get. He's good in pass protection, supposedly, and we'll see how it plays out. He was a 6th-round pick. I remember when he was coming out in the draft. He drew interest for me just because of his father. But I don't know a whole hell of a lot about him. I don't watch a lot of Packers games. I just know we need as much help as we can on the offensive line. And I will say this, and I don't know how much of it was him, but that Green Bay Packers offensive line was fantastic in the playoffs this past year. I'll say that. They didn't surrender a sack against the San Francisco 49ers and who did they play the first week? Was it the Dallas Cowboys? I think they played the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe not. I can't recall, but he didn't surrender a sack. That the offensive line as a whole for the Packers didn't surrender a sack in their 2 playoff games. And Fabian, what's going on? Tana, what's the latest? Only know about Barkley. Barkley's gone. McKinney's gone. We brought in Singletary, decent running back. We brought in Runyan, a guard, who will probably start for us. I mean, he better if we're paying him $10 million a year. Only $17 million guaranteed, so it's a deal that we could easily get out of probably as soon as next year if we really wanted to, but obviously that's not going to be the goal. So yeah, a couple small signings, but there's rumors that the Giants are potentially close to landing Brian Burns. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't think I missed you yet, Bill. Hopefully I know you're still in the chat. You're always in here. I'm coming up on it. I just like to go in order, man, but thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you guys for all the support. You guys are awesome. And hopefully you guys are having a good day. But Fabian, thanks for popping in, man. Bear says, if we trade for Burns and for what we did, would you say we aren't likely to trade up more than likely to trade down since we have more holes to fill? I mean, Bear, I think it comes down to how much we surrender to get Burns. I don't think it would be a 1st-round pick, but I would think it would be a 2nd-round pick. I know we'd still have to sign the guy, but I think it would be a 2nd and maybe a day 3 pick, whether it be this year or the following year. Something like that. And yeah, I think I would agree with you, Bear, actually. If the Giants were to give up a 2nd-round pick to get Brian Burns, suddenly you only have 1 2nd-round pick. So that makes it much less likely that you would have the ability to trade back up into the back end of the 1st round, which I think, at least partially going into the draft, that is a distinct possibility that we may do that if a guy like a McCarthy, even though I don't expect that, I'll continue to say it, I think he's going top 10, or, if they really like the Penix or whatever, you would have that ability to trade up. If you suddenly gave away one of those picks, yeah, I agree actually with you, Barrett. Makes it much less likely that the Giants will take a quarterback in this year's draft. Not ruling it out. And when I say take a quarterback in the draft, I mean early. I mean with the 6th pick. I mean with the 39th pick, whatever it may be. But it depends on the draft compensation we were to give up. But obviously, the less early compensation we have, yeah, the less likely I would say it is that we take a quarterback. But certainly not out of the realm of possibility. It'll depend on, who's on their board and, where they're picking, how they feel about said player. V-Man says, as a Jets fan, you're going to hate dealing with Huff. Listen, I wanted Huff bad. He had the highest pass block win rate. I should say 2nd highest pass block win rate in the National Football League last year, only behind Micah Parsons. And I understand he's a one-trick pony, as I said to several people on Twitter, but he's a good one-trick pony. And that's a valuable one trick to have. He's one of the better pure pass rushers in football. I'm not happy that the Eagles got him. I think it was a good pickup by them. I wanted him, and I think they got him at a pretty decent price. I think it was about $15 million a year on average, if I'm not mistaken. I thought he'd get a little bit more than that due to his age, but I think that was a good move by the Eagles. I hate to say it. I don't necessarily love the Barkley move for them, but I do like that move. True Rappler says, 3 years ago, we all gather here like kids on Christmas anticipating Golladay. 3 years later, back doing the same thing with Burns. Love this community. What's going on, True Rappler? Hopefully, if we do get Brian Burns, it's not the same result as Kenny Golladay, who did catch a touchdown. He caught 1 touchdown, so I give him credit for that. We gave him $60 million or whatever we gave him to catch one touchdown. But hopefully it works out a lot better. Obviously, you never know. But as a fan, it's exciting this time of year, especially if you get a guy that you feel could really help your football team. And Brian Burns certainly would do that for this pass rush. And young, right? 25 going on 26. Bill, man, thank you so much, man. Joe told Saquon it's just business. But for Saquon, it was clearly personal. The Eagles was a giant FU back to Mara and Joe. Possible. I mean, sir, you have to think that's at least part of it, Bill, right? He also went to Penn State. He doesn't have to move very far. So that's in his favor too, right? I think it was the money, though, Bill, if I'm being honest. I think that was the main thing. I don't think the main thing was to stick it to the New York Giants. I'm sure that doesn't hurt, and he wasn't happy with the way the Giants handled his contract situation. But I honestly don't think there were a ton of teams willing to give him $37.5 million guaranteed with the ability to hit 46 in 3 years, if he hits certain incentives, which I don't know what the incentives are, but you have to figure they're at least remotely possible playing on that team behind that offensive line. If we were to hit those incentives, you're talking over $15 million a year to a running back. So I don't think a lot of teams were knocking down the door to sign Saquon to a contract similar to that. So I think it was the money more so than anything else. But yeah, I'm sure the ability to stick it to the Giants after the way that he felt like he was mistreated due to the contract had a little bit of an influence on it. I'm sure it did. Nick, man, thank you very much, man, for the $5 donation, man. I appreciate it, buddy. And Kudabank says fans want to pay Quan all the money and pay X $17 million a year and fix the line and get other free agents with what money? This is a W by Joe in my eyes. I'm not going to call it a W until we see how he builds the team, but I agree with you from the standpoint of I think where this team currently is, the resources need to go to the places that you said above all else. Last year, I mean, what do we have, like 30 sacks? We didn't have a lot. We were near the bottom of the league in sacks, despite the fact that we had the second highest blitz frequency in the NFL. Saquon was the only guy that had anything close to a double-digit sack total. Understandably, it was in a Wink Martindale defense, but we didn't get pressure, not nearly enough. And the offensive line is awful. So I agree with you. I think that's where the money needs to be spent, but I'm not going to call it a W until I see it spent wisely and these players pan out. But I agree with you in terms of the strategy and the philosophy. Yeah, that's if I was Shane, and I think most Giants fans, if they were Shane, would want to prioritize in the trenches in free agency. And I think that's what they're going to do. And we'll see what they end up doing throughout the rest of free agency. But I'm not surprised. I expected neither one of those guys to be back, especially after the season we had last year. I'm not surprised at all. And I'm going to bring up another point. And I mentioned this on Patricia's channel. I think I mentioned this on the show with Bad Dog on my channel. I didn't see anybody, for the most part, bring up this point on Twitter. And granted, I haven't been on Twitter for the last week or two. But after the McKinney thing went down, everybody was screaming that we should have transition tagged him. And I get it, right? You say to yourself, okay, we could have paid him $13.8 million against the cap, and he could have gotten to test his market, yada, yada, yada. I think this is the way that Shane looked at it. You're going into free agency. If you transition tag Xavier McKinney and you're not going to match a deal like he got today, which was fairly obvious he was going to get. He was going to get $17 million a year. I think that's fair to say. If you knew that you weren't going to match that deal, you went into free agency, then at least to start, with $13.8 million less to play with in terms of bringing in outside free agents. And I think that went into part of the thought process for Joe Shane as well. He said, well, we're not going to match $17 or $18 million a year if McKinney gets that somewhere, and I think he probably will. So why do I want to have $14 million less to play with at the start of free agency and have to feel cap-stricken for a player that I'm more than likely not going to bring back? So I think that played into it as much as everything else. And the other thing, if you were to transition tag Xavier McKinney and you don't match the offer, which obviously the Giants weren't going to do, you don't get all that draft pick compensation that everybody talks about, and you're not available to get compensation. So I don't think it made a whole lot of sense when I really thought about it to give him the transition tag if you didn't plan to bring him back, which clearly the Giants didn't plan to do. Frank says, I'm okay with Saquon Barkley gone. Singletary has comparable numbers and is a much better blocker. I mean, Singletary's not Saquon. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to say he isn't. But for me, I think we've seen it as Giants fans. If you can fix the line, you can get good running production you could manufacture a really good running game with a good offensive line and okay running backs. And I think that's what the Giants are trying to build towards. Will it work out this year? Well, that depends on the offensive line. But I think they're going for more of a committee approach. We don't want to invest that kind of money in a running back. And listen, look at the best teams in the league. They don't. For the most part, they don't. So hopefully it works out. Long term, I think that's the appropriate way to build. Cudabank says, I'm sorry, but I don't get rose-tinted glasses for Quan. Some fans do. The fact is he's always hurt, and he averages 2 yards a carry outside of a 50-yard run a game. I get it. I'm not going to blame that totally on him. The offensive line was awful, but I get it. Listen, I think he's a great player that we couldn't maximize with the situation we currently had. And he's got a short shelf life. So it didn't make a whole lot of sense to pay him the kind of money that the Eagles did. Just didn't make a whole lot of sense. The Eagles could maximize his ability with the pieces that they have in place. Daryl, what's going on, man? I'm with Tiki. That green team was off limits. This may be Mr. Mara stepping out of the decision-making process. Just one more tie to sever. This is a true restart now. I may be rationalizing. I will see, Daryl. I mean, obviously, I think that's where it's headed. Nobody's back. The only players that are still on this team from the Gettleman regime are Slayton, obviously Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, Daniel Jones. That's it, I think. And obviously, Daniel Jones more than likely is not going to be here more than another year. I'd be surprised if he was. We'll see. Dex and Thomas are long-term pieces, and we'll see with Slayton. I hope they do extend them. I think it would make sense to be able to free up some cap this year for a guy who's still only 26, who I think is a solid player, if he was willing to sign for what I think would be an appropriate price. But I think he could make sense. But yes, I mean, obviously, I think the Giants are starting to build their team, this regime. I think this is really the turning of the page. The first year they did a little bit of both because they didn't expect to make the playoffs. So they tried to retain as many players from that squad as they could and try to build off of that with young, impactful players from that team. But yeah, now I think they're starting to turn the page, and we'll see how they want to build this team. Got to see how the rest of the free agency plays out before I could really speculate in terms of, what I expect this team to be next year. But yeah, there could certainly be some growing pains for a young team. There's no doubt about it. We got to hope that the offensive line and the pass rush continues to grow, and you got to hope that a lot of these players that Joe Schoen has drafted grow. Evan Neal, Wan'Dale Robinson. Those guys need to grow. Jalen Hyatt. And I like Wan'Dale, but those guys need to grow. So we'll see. Kayvon, so on and so forth. Jackson, what's going on, man? Sad to see Barkley and X go, but I like the move Schoen is making. I feel we got ahead of ourselves last year, I think you meant to say. We need to commit to this rebuild. Oh, I think they are, obviously. But we'll see what they do throughout the rest of free agency. I do think he's going to bring in a couple of impactful players, but he's not going to shop at the top of the market either. Giants realist, man, what's going on, man? Maybe I'm the bad guy here, but I'm happy we are finally going full rebuild. I don't think you're a bad guy, man. And adhering to positional value like I've been asking for. I think I agree with you as far as the positional value. I'm in complete agreement with you. And asking for, if we don't get a future quarterback in this draft, I'm rooting for close losses till we do. Sorry, people. Well, that's your prerogative. I'm not gonna, you do what you want to do. I understand. Obviously, your thought process is, okay, I get it. If we don't love a quarterback where we're picking, I don't want them to force it, but I want to be in a position the following year to get a quarterback. I get your line of thought, and you feel like it's hopeless until we have one. I can't blame you for feeling that way. It's a quarterback-driven league. I get it. I'm not going to do that, but I'm also not going to scream at you for it. That's your opinion. Jack says, Tiki told Saquon, you're dead to us. Well, he kind of is. You wear Eagles green, you are dead to us. It's Cole says, what's up, Dana? Not a fun day so far for me, and I'm sure you have similar feelings. JD is sleeping. I want to curl up in a ball. Well, I didn't think Bryce Huff was going to be back with you guys. And free agency it's a long process, right? A lot of fan bases are pissed off the first day of free agency because their team doesn't come running out of the gate. There's still moves to be had. We'll see how the Giants and the Jets build. I still think the Jets are going to be aggressive because they have to be. They have Aaron Rodgers. You went all in last year. If you're going to dive head first, you better go all in. So I expect the Jets to still be aggressive and add some pieces, but we'll see what they do throughout the rest of the free agency. I still think the Giants are going to add some impactful players as well, more so on the young side. Playboy says, I'm okay. Who do we watch on the Giants roster now? Let's see the roster first. Let's see how they continue to build this team. But obviously, I think you're referring to Saquon Barkley, a fan favorite, a guy that was fun to watch. You fall in love with another player, and we'll see. Maybe it's Malik Neighbors. Maybe it's Adunze. Whoever, if we draft a wide receiver early in the first, maybe it's Wan'Dale Robinson. Maybe it's Kayvon Thibodeau. Maybe it's Brian Burns if we trade for him. Maybe it's Bobby Okereke. At the end of the day, I'm going to root for the blue uniform. John says, man, losing X and Quan in the same day. I just hope Schoen has a plan. Hang in there, Giants fans. That's all you could do, man. You got to hope and pray. Well, I'm sure he has a plan. You got to hope and pray the plan works out. Molly, what's going on, man? Look at Quan tweet, clap back at Tiki. Okay, now we got to look at this. We got a little Twitter beef going on between Saquon Barkley and Tiki Barber. Let's take a look at what Saquon Barkley had to say. We'll share it with the chat. Let's see what Saquon Barkley. Oh, okay. Saquon Barkley fires back at a little Twitter war between two former Giant greats, I guess you could say. Neither one of which won a Super Bowl, but let's see what they had to say. Tiki Barber, you're dead to us, Saquon. Good look. You're dead to me. And Saquon wrote back, LOL, yup, you're the prime example of loyalty to a team. I got the deal I wanted. Secured more game which wasn't given to me before. So if fans are going to hate me for that, so be it. But I never turned my back on my teammates and always had theirs. You've been a hater since I got to New York, and all the dead to me talk. Don't smile in my face when you see me. Okay. Tiki Barber and Saquon going at it a little bit. Listen, I don't care, man. Sayonara. See ya. Don't really care, man. I hope you don't enjoy Philadelphia because I hope we kick your ass. Bill says, Bill, man, thank you so much, man. If Joe doesn't pick up a solid offensive lineman in free agency, it may suggest he's going O-line at 6, especially if he trades number 2 for Burns. I wouldn't rule it out. I still don't expect it, but I wouldn't rule it out. You know, I think a lot of people have just completely ruled out the possibility that we could take a guy like Joe Alt. I'm not completely ruling it out. I don't expect it, though. I still think it's going to be a wide receiver or quarterback early in this year's draft. It's possible, but I still think Evan Neal's going to get one more crack on the right side. That's what I'm guessing. I'm not saying that's necessarily what I want to happen, but that's my guess going into the year. Jamil, what's going on, man? I'm happy Barkley is gone. He was a headache, Tana. Obviously now we want to rag on him because he went to the Eagles. I don't necessarily think Barkley was a headache. Maybe the drafting part of him was a headache, and the dilemma in your head as a fan of knowing that it's probably not the best idea for the Giants to keep this guy based off the situation of the team. Maybe that was a headache. I don't think he ever caused any headaches for this franchise. Now, yeah, none of us are going to like him after the fact, but I never viewed him as a guy that, was a distraction for this team. But maybe the thought process of should we keep him, should we not? I get that aspect of it. Maximus says, any chance drafting Trey Benson? Perfect fit for me. Listen, man, I got to see how we build the rest of this team, but I got to see how we build the rest of this team before I could speculate on the rest of the draft. But I certainly think we're going to draft I shouldn't say I certainly think we're going to draft the running back because we only have, 7 picks right now? I want to say 7 picks. We just signed Singletary. I'm leaning we'll draft the running back to add a third player to that platoon between Singletary and Gray, but I think it's far from a foregone conclusion. It's possible, but they very well may not. They may address elsewhere, offensive line, defensive line, so on and so forth. They did just invest $6 million a year in Singletary. So I wouldn't be stunned if they don't draft the running back in this year's draft. We'll see. There's a lot of other areas we need to fill. Godson says, Shane said destroy and rebuild the Giants. Yeah. I mean, it was really his only move as far as Barkley and McKinney go. I mean, you could argue McKinney maybe he should have brought back, but it was really his only move. You knew he wasn't going to pay Barkley that kind of money. It was his only move. Let's see how he builds the rest of this team going into next year. What's up, OG? Chris, man up. What you've been saying? Oh, here we go. How many times are we going to talk about this? We're talking about it for, a year and a half now? How many times are we going to talk about it? Let's see. Let's see. Do we draft a safety? Sure, if we like one. Sure. Still could sign. I think there's a strong chance we could sign a veteran safety. I think we're going to try to sign veterans in the secondary, whether it be safety, whether it be cornerback. Let's see. Difference is Tiki Barber's in the Ring of Honor. Barkley is dead to me. Well, Barkley's never going to sniff the Ring of Honor. Barkley's never going to sniff the Ring of Honor. What's up, you Sills, man? The Giants are giving former Houston Texans running back Devin Singletary a 3-year, $60.5 million deal. Yeah, I saw that. That came out about an hour and a half ago. So I'm cool with that. I mean, it's not it's a little under $6 million a year on average, unless you hit, I guess it's incentives and it goes up to $6.5 million a year. I'm cool with that. I like adding a veteran back there for a much more affordable price than what Barkley would have costed. I'm fine with that. I think it's a solid move by the Giants. Let's see. Let's see. What's going on, Jacob, man? Thanks for popping in, man. Let's see. Now let's trade Aziz Street. Let's trade Aziz Street clothes. Nobody's taking Aziz. He's too injury prone, man. But we'll hang out for a bit for you guys. Hopefully something big goes down. I'm gonna monitor Twitter. If you guys see any rumors, let me know in the chat. We'll hang out for a bit today, and maybe Brian Burns goes down. Maybe the Giants sign somebody else. I'll probably do the same thing tomorrow after work. Wednesday I work late. I go into the city on Wednesday, so I work from home 4 to 5 days. So that day, unless something big happens, maybe. But we'll probably do the same thing tomorrow, hang out. But if you guys see any rumors, I'll definitely check it out on Twitter, and we'll hang out. And hopefully the Giants make a couple of moves today. A couple more moves. They made some moves, but a couple more moves. Saquon Barkley is not thinking about the future. He will fail in Philadelphia, then he will come back. He was thinking about his bank account, man. That's the biggest thing. At least we don't have to watch Saquon run up the middle for 2 yards. Yeah. I'm not going to get into old DJ caused all this thing. DJ, I get where you people are coming from with that, but no. The Giants have plenty of cap space. The Giants are talking about potentially adding Brian Burns, who's going to cost them over $20 million a year if they do that. This has very little to do with Daniel Jones' contract. It has very much to do with the fact that Joe Shane doesn't want to pay a safety and a running back a lot of money. That's what it really boils down to. If he wanted to sign Saquon, he easily could. The Eagles paid Jalen Hurts a ton of money. Easily could. Giants have plenty of cap space. They could shuffle Andrew Thomas's contract. They could shuffle Dexter Lawrence's contract. Joe Shane does not believe in paying a running back and a safety the amount of money that those guys just got paid. That's the way I look at it. They could have signed those guys. He didn't want to. Very little has to do with the Daniel Jones contract. They could have signed those guys if they wanted to. Yeah, Gabe Davis signed with the Jags. Let's see. Crazy the switch on Saquon. I was hoping he went to the Texans so I could go for him. I mean, Cole, what did you expect? Did you think Giants fans were going to celebrate the fact that he went to our biggest rival? I mean, come on. Come on, man. Let's see, man. Jacob says, Tana, how much you willing to give up for Burns? I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what his market would be because of the contract that we'd have to sign him to. But I have to think it's got to be at least a second-round pick that you start with. I wouldn't give up first, especially for a team like the Giants who very well may be picking early in the future. Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with a second-round pick and maybe a future day 3 pick. I honestly don't know what the going rate would be for Burns, but I'm not giving up a first-round pick. But I think it would start with a second-round pick for a guy that's still 25 going on 26, ultra-talented at that position. Yeah, I think you got to pay something to get something, right? But, for God's sakes, we got a second-round pick for Leonard Williams. So, of course, Brian Burns is going to cost in that ballpark, right? More, probably. And he's young and he's talented. So, let's see. And Michael says, what's up, bro? I watch every video you post. You're my Giants ESPN, but not signing 26X shows me we got a big move coming real soon. Well, Giants just signed. I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, but I know who he is. He's the dude from the Raiders who naturally makes sense. And he was a guy that I had my eye on as a potential target for the Giants because of our offensive line coach. So it makes sense. We'll do a little research on him. So they brought him in. Played with the Raiders last year. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at it. Let's see what was the contract, guys? Let's take a look. Hold on. So the Giants double up. They bring in 2 offensive linemen. Like I said, he comes over from the Raiders. That's where our offensive line coach comes over. So I'm not surprised by that. The 2 years, $14 million. It's a stopgap signing. More depth. I'm completely fine with that. Obviously, you don't expect him to be a superstar, but the Giants are bringing in some depth on the offensive line. 2 years, $14 million. I don't know what the guarantees are, but that's coming out from Ian Rappaport. Let's take a look at his. Makes sense. I mean, you had to figure they were going to at least explore, Raiders linemen, due to our new offensive line coach. Last year, he had a 68.5 PFF grade, gave up 6 sacks. How old is he? He's still relatively young. He was a 5th-round pick from the Baltimore Ravens. He's 29. He's 29, almost 30, which explains why it was only a 2-year deal as opposed to 3 for Runyan. Stopgap guy, depth piece, guy that could probably step in and start in a pinch, but not a guy that you obviously expect to be a long-term answer here, but makes sense. Obviously, the offensive line coach liked him from the Raiders. Giants bring him over, so we get another piece on the offensive line. for not too much money. Don't hate that signing. Solid signing by the Giants. I like it. Need more hogs. I like it. Let's see. Ethan says 6-33. Giants get Burns and some later picks. No. I'm not dropping from 6-33 for Brian Burns. Whoa! Giants just got Brian Burns. Hold. That's what the chat's saying. You better not be screwing with me. We're gonna pull it up right now. Giants just got Brian Burns. What was the price? What was the price? We're gonna share it with the chat right now. Holy crap! Whoa! He got paid. Wow. Let's share this with the chat. Brian Burns trade. The Panthers are trading star Brian Burns at last to the Giants per me and Mike Garafolo. Burns lands a 5-year deal worth $150 max. That's $30 million a year if you're not good at math. 87.5 guaranteed. Done by Todd France at Athletes First. Carolina sends Burns to the Giants for a second and fifth rounders. I guess that's plural, multiple fifth-round picks. So 2 midday 3 picks and a second-round pick. So essentially the Giants, the way you can look at this is the Giants swap Leonard Williams, because they got a second-round pick for Leo. They swapped Leonard Williams and 2 fifth-round picks, and they got Brian Burns. Now, of course, you got to pay him, which they did handsomely. But he's young. He's 25 going on 26. And now all of a sudden you've got 2 young. Oh, my God. No audio. I was looking at the deal. I must have stepped on the cord. I don't know what you guys heard and what you guys didn't. I'm just going to read it to you guys again, and I'm going to go over it. 5-year deal, 150 max, 87.5 guaranteed. So the Giants are paying him $30 million a year, 87.5 guaranteed. That's a lot. Obviously, the market is high for pass rushers, but that is a lot. The Giants just paid Brian Burns. But the way that I analyze this trade, and it may not work out. So don't get mad at me if it doesn't work out. But today I'm excited because the way I look at this trade is you essentially traded Leonard Williams and 2 fifth-round picks for Brian Burns, right? We got a second-round pick for Leonard Williams in season. So you swap Leo, you give up 2 future fits, you got Brian Burns. Of course, the contract is a part of it. Now you're paying him a lot of money. But if you're going to pay a lot of money to a player, let it be a young, talented player like Brian Burns. He's 25. He's going to be 26. He fits the long-term identity of this football team. Now you've got a young player in Bobby Okereke, who's right in the same age group, 25, 26. You got Kayvon Thibodeau, who's 22, 23, however old he is. Brian Burns. You got Dexter Lawrence. And suddenly the Giants have what looks to be a formidable pass rush. And I think they needed that in a defense that they're going to run this year. When you're not going to blitz nearly as frequently as we did with Wink Martindale, now you got Burns, you got Kayvon, you got Dex. I'm excited. Cap be damned. It's a long deal. You could spread the money out to make it work. That's a good move. He's a young player who's going to help this defense. I'm happy with that move. And now it's interesting. Like somebody said earlier, I forgot who super chatted it. What does that mean now for the Giants in the draft? Because a lot of people were looking at those 2 second-round picks, and they were viewing it as an opportunity to potentially pair those picks and move up to 23, 24, and get a quarterback. That's off the table now. Now, that's not to say you still can't do that, but it's much less likely, especially being that not only did you trade one of your seconds, you traded 2 additional fifths on top of it. How much more draft capital is Joe Schoen going to want to surrender to move up and get said quarterback in the first round? I'm not saying that's completely off the table, but it's less likely than it was. But listen, man, I love this move. I love this move. I think it's going to do a big things for our defense. I've been saying now for months that I want the primary target in free agency to be the edge, not a free agent. We traded for him, but you get a young player who's 25 going on 26, one of the better edge rushers in the league. You pair him with Kayvon Thibodeau. We're getting back to Giants football, right? It's all about the pass rush. Well, now we got 2 really good pass rushers. And, sorry, I got the hiccups. And Dexter Lawrence in the middle. Now fix the offensive line, please. Fix the offensive line, please. But I like this move. I like this move. I like this move. I like this move. I'm excited. I'm excited, man. Let's see. Sorry about the mic, man. I was just so excited I wasn't even looking at the chat. And I stepped on the microphone cord while I was reading it. But the Giants just got Brian Burns. Not bad. 2 fifth-round picks, second-round pick. You essentially traded Leonard Williams and 2 fifth-round picks for Brian Burns. I want to get the chat's reaction. You guys, and I know everybody's going to be scared because anytime we get excited in the offseason for any kind of move, it blows up in our face. But I want to get the initial chat reaction to this move. What's your guys' thoughts on this move? What do you guys think about trading essentially Leo Williams and 2 fifth-round picks for a 25 going on 26-year-old pass rusher? I love the move. He fits. He's going to help the immediate future, and he fits the long-term style of this football team. You got Bobby Okereke, 25-26. You got Brian Burns, 25 going on 26. You got Kayvon, 22-23. You got Dex, 25-20. You got a young defense now with a lot of up-and-coming players. Deonte Banks. We'll see what we do at the cornerback position, safety, everything else. But I like the move, man. Oh, it's only 1/5. It's only 1/5. I like the move, guys. I like the move. I'm a fan. Let's see. Brian Burns. All right. Let's go, man. Frank says Shane knows where to spend the money. That's where you spend it. You spend it if you're going to spend in free agency, that's where you spend it. And look where he's put his money. He's put his money where his mouth is. Look where he's put his money. He spent big on he extended Andrew Thomas, offensive line. He extended Dexter Lawrence, defensive line. He's going to trade and obviously sign Brian Burns to a big extension. Pass rush, right? Drafted Evan Neal. Not working so far. Offensive line, high in the draft. Drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive line. That's where he's trying to build this football team. So I agree with the philosophy. Not going to, hopefully it works. You got to draft the right players, but I agree with the philosophy. And we all know that Brian Burns is a very good pass rusher. So I like the move, man. I think it's a good move by the New York Giants. I'm excited about this move. No doubt about it. And now what I think you'll see the Giants do, a lot of people were saying, well, how come they haven't restructured Dexter Lawrence's deal yet? Now I think you'll see that. I think Shane wanted to see what the market was going to be for players around the league and then be able to restructure accordingly based on, how he's going to have to structure these large contracts coming in. But I expect them now to restructure Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence. They'll move some money around to make it work. John, what's going on, man? Burns, baby Burns. Disco Inferno. Let's go, man. And Rich says, we also say, yeah, I know who's coming over from the Raiders. Makes a world of sense. That's where our offensive line coach is coming over from. So it makes a world of sense with the familiarity there. I didn't know we would sign him, but I had my eye on him. I thought he was a possibility. G-Man 26 says Burns to the G-Men. Love that move. Misleading Story says because this is before the new league year, it won't affect the comp picks for McKinney and Barkley too. Oh, and it was a trade. Yeah, so we didn't bring him in via free agency. So I think you're right. It does not offset the comp picks. That Misleading Story brought up a great point that I didn't even think about. Somebody in the chat correct Misleading Story if he's wrong. I don't think he is because it wasn't a free agent signing. So if we do not offset the large contracts that we gave up, these Xavier McKinney's now in the Saquon Barkleys, not only did you essentially are going to get, you'll probably get a third-round comp pick back for Xavier. Not probably, you will get a third-round comp pick back for Xavier McKinney. You might even get a third-round comp pick back for Barkley with the deal that he signed if you don't offset this with incoming free agents. Thus far, we haven't done that. But if this does not offset it, in addition to only giving up a second and 1/5, you will more than likely receive at least one, if not two, third-round comp picks for Barkley and McKinney if you don't offset those picks. Somebody in the chat correct if he's wrong, but I don't think he is. I don't think he is because it wasn't a signing; it was a trade. I don't think he's wrong about that. I'm sure they'll explain it on Twitter, but I don't think he was wrong about that. That was smart misleading story. I didn't even think about that. Makes me like the deal even more if that's true. Let's see. But we still may offset those signings. Even if it doesn't, we still may sign somebody to. I don't think we'll exceed the McKinney contract at this point, but we could exceed the Saquon contract. Chris says, Tana, good to see you back. Will Burns play his natural OLB, or can he be both the 3-4 edge and the OLB? I think he's going to play the edge. He's going to be a pass rusher in this defense if that's what you're asking me. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to run multiple defensive fronts like every team does in the league, but I don't expect this guy to drop back in coverage. He's going to be a guy, especially in this defense, where we're going to try to use our front four or, our defensive front to be able to attack the quarterback. We're not going to look to send safeties and corners on blitzes nearly as much as we did with Wink Martindale. I think his primary objective is going to be to get after the quarterback. I don't expect to see him dropping back a ton of coverage. Same thing with Kayvon Thibodeau, which I obviously did not benefit him in Wink Martindale's scheme. Those guys are going to be asked to go after the quarterback. What's going on, Cop Pizzle's 60-minute right-hand man? Stand up! Cop Pizzle's 60-minute right-hand man. And Todd Whiteout says, draft Fisk is nasty, man. The defensive tackle, he's a nasty prospect. I've watched him. Dex Burns equals awesome defensive line. He's ferocious. He's one of the nastiest prospects in this year's draft. I think he's a day 2 guy, second, third round, but wouldn't be against that. We only have 1 second-round pick now, though. Lou says the Giants signed a guard, a good running back, and traded for Brian Burns. We signed 2 offensive linemen, 2 interior offensive linemen. No matter how you look at it, the Giants addressed needs and had a good day. Hey, I don't think we're done yet, man. I said I think we're going to be aggressive this offseason. We've been aggressive. That's the highest. I have to think that's the highest paid non-quarterback move thus far in the offseason with Brian Burns. But I don't think the Giants are done yet. I think we're going to have another pretty big move. I don't know who it'll be, but I think we're going to have at least one more big move. Prummy says stoked about Burns. Meanwhile, Saquon shit-talking Tiki on Twitter right now. He fits in with the horrible Eagles already. Loved you, Saquon, while you were here. You wear Eagles green. You're dead to me. Rel says our secondary is still trash. This helps a little. Yeah, listen. Our secondary has a lot of work to do, but I mean, listen, our secondary wasn't great in 07. We were able to hide it. I'm not saying it was bad, but it wasn't great. We were able to hide it because we had a great pass rush. Needs to improve. I think we're still going to sign a corner. And we'll see if we sign a safety as well. But, we'll see how it all plays out. But I think you misleading just stole my super chat you missed. I didn't mean to miss anybody's super chat, Tommy. I'm sorry. But that was a great point by misleading. I didn't even think about that. And if that doesn't offset the comp picks, that makes me like the trade even more. Frank, what's going on, man? Actually, you don't have to touch their contracts. Giants, after this year's signing of draft picks, will still have over $80 million available next year and $200 million in 2026. Well, Frank, we still got to see how much, Shane's going to be able to make that decision, how he wants to structure the incoming Burns contract. Where does he want to push the money? And I'll definitely have a video out on that once the contract details come out. I won't just talk about his contract, but I'll talk about the overall impact on next year's salary cap, at least as of now. The salary cap is fluid, though. You could always move money around, right? I think we've learned that over the last couple of years, watching this team and how Shane has operated. I expect him to move some of that money around for sure, because I think he's going to want to make it evenly distributed. So I do expect him to backload Thomas's contract a bit, because right now it's basically the same hit every year from here all the way up until the age 30. So when I saw that contract, I said at some point he's going to restructure that deal, because the salary cap only goes up. So you have to think that he's going to want to evenly distribute that money. So the contract goes up along with the salary cap, and it gives you the freedom to be able to bring players in along the way. So I do think they will restructure that Andrew Thomas contract. Deck's contract is less likely because it's not as long, and he's a little bit older, but I think they're going to end up restructuring both of them. But I don't think that's a bad thing. Those are long-term players. The Ace Avenue says, what a roller coaster of a day it's been. We lose Barkley, we lose McKinney, we get Brian Burns. Get a couple of offensive linemen. Katrick says, fly, Eagles, fly. You better be kidding. I know you love Barkley, but you better be kidding. You better be kidding. Listen, Katrick, I named my dog Tiki. I moved off Tiki in a second as soon as he left the team. You're a Giants fan. You're not a Barkley. I mean, you like Barkley. You love Barkley, but you're a Giants fan. Dan says, not excited until we win games. Burns plays quarterback as well. I get it. But I'm happy with the move. I'm excited to see what this defense is going to be next year. But obviously, yeah, you're going to be cautiously optimistic, as you should be. The team's been awful. But I'm glad to see that the Giants brought in a premium piece on the defense. I think it's going to help us a lot. Yeah, I'm joking. Don't worry. I'm hard. I get it, man. Connor says, yeah, 2 years, $14 million, Gerald. Connor says, what second round pick was it? Let me keep looking. Hold on. Maybe one of the beat reporters, whether it be Jordan Runyan or let me see. Maybe they specified what pick it was. Pick 39. So it was the first. So technically it wasn't the Seahawks pick. It was our first second round pick. Yeah, I mean 39 or 47. It's not whatever. So it's the 39th pick and a 5th round pick. I still look at that like you traded Leo and a 5th round pick to get Brian Burns. It's a pretty good deal. So yeah, the first second round pick we gave up. Oh, also a 5th round pick swap. So I mean, who knows? I mean, we're picking a little bit later than Carolina, but so a 5th round pick swap. So who knows? Maybe that's 8, 9, 10 picks in the future. I don't know if it's this year or in the future, but either way, it's a 5th round pick swap. We give a 5th round pick this year. I'm sorry, next year, 2025, and the 39th overall pick. So a future 5th, not even a 5th this year, a 5th round pick swap, and the 39th pick to get Brian Burns. That's the deal. Let's see. Your screen is blurry. Well, that's I can't do much about that, Robert. That's what I'm showing. I'll read. Well, there, I made it bigger. There you go. The Giants, Brian Burns. To the Panthers, pick number 39 and a 2025 5th rounder. Also a 5th round pick swap per source. That's the deal. Let's see. But let's get back to the chat, man. Wonder how Saquon feel about the Burns deal. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't care. He just got paid a boatload from the Eagles, but I'm already moved on from Saquon. Steve says, I need to see what we do at safety. We'll see. I mean, I think we'll probably bring in a veteran. I don't expect, us to spend top dollar. If we were going to spend top dollar at safety, we would have kept McKinney. So we'll probably bring in a veteran, but yeah, I think we'll address the secondary. We might bring in a veteran corner as well. We'll see. But I think there's one more big move on the Giants' plate. I don't know where it'll be. Will it be corner? Will it be maybe another offensive lineman? I doubt it. They already spent 2 middle tier contracts on the offensive line. Will it be a corner? Will it be a wide receiver? I think there's one more pretty big move left on the plate for the Giants. One more pretty big move. Let's see. Poyer, I wouldn't be against that, Bell. I wouldn't be against that. Makes sense, obviously, with ties to Buffalo. We need a safety. I'm completely. I don't think they would spend on a top tier lineman at this point. OG knockout, but I wouldn't be against them getting another lineman. The more the merrier, man. This line stinks. Daryl says they threw in DJ with the Brian Burns trade. No, they didn't. You wish they could get rid of that contract. No, they didn't. No, they did not. Huff seemed like a better deal. I mean, Huff didn't sign her, but Huff was cheaper. That's for sure. Would you say Darius Williams would be a big move? Yeah, relatively big. I would put it wouldn't be quite as big as like the Adoree Jackson signing probably when we made it, but it would be relatively big. Yes, that's a pretty big move. Yes. Are we rebuilding or not? I think we're doing. Yeah. Listen, the guy. It's not like these guys are old. This guy's 25 years old. We're signing young player. There's guys that are going to get drafted in this year's draft that are the same age as Brian Burns. He's a baby. He's young. Still got 5-6 great years, hopefully, ahead of him. So, It's not like these aren't guys that aren't going to help you long term. This is a guy that they identify as going to be a long term piece for this football team. It's going to help both in the here and now and in the future. Justin, what's going on, man? I think Leo was traded for a second this year and a fifth next year. So pretty sure it's basically the same. Did they get a fifth? Did they get somebody let me know? I know they got a second. Did they also get a fifth for Leo? They got a second and a fifth for Leo. I knew they got a second. Let me see. You might be right. I didn't remember we also got the fifth. You're right. The Giants got a 2024 second round pick, which was the 49th or whatever it is. The Seahawks pick this year. And they got a 2025 fifth round pick. So the Giants basically just took, and the Giants moved back like 8 spots in the second round and traded Leonard Williams and got Brian Burns. That's basically what happened. When you really look at it, they gave up the fifth round pick in 2025 that they got for Leo. They gave up a slightly earlier second round pick in this year's draft. And they got Brian Burns, who's 5 or 6 years younger, and at this point a better football player. You know, obviously maybe you worry a little bit about the contract, but yeah, I like the deal, man. And Mark says, Chris, this is even better than the Huff. I wanted Huff, but listen, I'm excited with Burns, man. That's for sure. I'm excited for Burns, man. I'm excited for Burns. Yeah, so AV, in the grand scheme of things, the Giants moved back 8 spots in the second round of this year's draft and traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns. You're going to argue? You're going to argue with that? You think that's a bad, and maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe Brian Burns stinks. But on paper, you think that's a bad move? You move back 8 spots in the second round of this year's draft and you get Brian Burns for Leonard Williams? The dude's 25, 26. So a really good pass rusher. I think it's a good move. Let's see. Silky Legend says Illuminator has right tackle experience as well. Listen, ties to our offensive line coach, so it makes sense. The depth on the offensive line, I'm completely for it. You have to think that this means we potentially may lose McKeithen. He may no longer be on the team next year because somebody's going to end up losing a job. We'll see. Bredesen's probably not going to be back. We'll see, but they're bringing in competition for that offensive line. So we'll see how it plays out. The more the merrier, man. Does that mean we take JJ at 6? I mean, who knows, man? It all depends on how they feel about him. It all depends on how high they feel about him at 6. I don't know. I don't think anything that's transpired today lends itself one way or the other in terms of are we going to take a quarterback at 6 or not? I don't, I don't know. Ridley. Now, that would change my opinion on what we may do at 6th overall if you were to spend big bucks on a wide receiver, but I don't think we're going to do that. I'm still leaning we're going to draft a wide receiver. Let's see. In all, the 25-year-old has 46 sacks in 5 seasons in the NFL. Listen, I like the move. I heard you guys are taking Boston Scott from us. It would be the smartest move the Giants could ever do. Sign Boston Scott, put him on the practice squad. That way he can't kill us every time he plays us. That alone would be worth it. Let's see. Eckler to Washington. Interesting move for Washington. I mean, he's obviously a good player. You add him. Good player. Very good player. So, Eckler to Washington. Sean says we're cooked. I mean, we just added Brian Burns. That's exciting. Is that not exciting? Let's see. What do you think about Spencer Rattler later on? I mean, depends how late. I don't love him. I don't love him in second round. You want to talk third, maybe fourth? Yeah. I don't love him in the second round. Isaiah says, hey, Chris, man, free agency off to a crazy start. The Saquon to Philly hurts. The Saquon to Philly hurts, but needed to happen, and McKinney stings. But what moves do you expect next and plus the draft? I think we're going to add in the secondary. If I had to guess, I think we'll add a corner. I don't know which one, but I think we'll add a corner. I think that'll be our next big move. We'll probably make some small moves. I think we're going to add a quarterback. You haven't seen that yet, right? I think we'll add a backup quarterback for sure, especially with the Jones injury. I think it'll be a pretty solid backup quarterback. And I think we're going to add a good corner. I'm not saying top of the market corner, but I think we'll add a good corner. That's my guess. Maybe some help at the safety spot as well. But, yeah, I think they'll attack the secondary now. Those will probably be the more prominent moves here in free agency going forward. Safety, corner, I think that's what you're looking at. Let's see. Mark, what's going on, man? He says, Giants should trade the 6 for Fields, the 6th overall pick. The Giants should trade the 6 for Fields and a first next year from the Bears. Would give us 2 first and a young, talented quarterback. Why would the Bears give up next year's first? So we give up the 6. So, Mark, what you're proposing is we give up the 6th pick this year. We don't have another pick now until 47. And we get 2 first in next year's draft? No. I'm good. I'm not doing that. Justin Fields ain't going to get them that kind. I mean, I understand you're swapping first, but Justin Fields ain't going to get better than a second for the Chicago Bears. Every team in the league knows that they need to trade him at this point. They ain't going to get more than that. If I'm the Giants, no, I'm not knocking down their door to trade for Justin Fields. Not doing that. Tuto, what's going on, man? Massive salutes and respects to and all Giants fans in America. Please slap all the stinky boy losers out the door and forget about it. What's going on, Tuto? Good to see you, man. Good to see you, man. And Great News says, I like that name. Great News. I like that. Good play on words. He says, once we get a cornerback, I'm ready to move to the draft. Well, I said going into free agency, what I want to address more so than anything else was the offensive line. Now, they didn't get the Hunt. They didn't get the premier guard that I think a lot of us were hoping they would get. I wanted the edge. I was obviously assuming we would go more with a free agent than a trade, but I wanted an edge. We got that, a premier edge, and I wanted a corner. Those were the 3 biggest areas of need I thought that they needed to address in free agency. So I'm with you. Obviously, I want to tie up some other things. We got a nice running back with Singletary. I'd like to get a backup quarterback, a little bit more depth maybe on the interior defensive line if possible. But in terms of like a pretty significant signing, I agree. I think if they're only going to make one more, let it be a corner. I think we need some experience back there. And let's see. Mark says, I can't believe this chat sounds like nobody's excited for Burns. It actually blows my mind. Mark, I know you're as excited as anybody. You're out of all my subscribers, Mark, you are definitely the defensive line guy. And I love that about you. And I think most Giant fans are defensive line guys. So I disagree. I haven't gotten a chance to poll the chat, but if I had to guess, most Giant fans are very excited about this move. Brian Burns, I mean, come on, dude. You just got yourself a really good pass rusher. That's what the Giants football is all about. O.C. Minor, Justin Tuck, Michael Strahan. Now you got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Brian. I think most Giant fans are going to be excited about this move. Hopefully we continue to be excited about him as he plays as a Giant, but I think most Giant fans initially are going to be excited about this move. Liam, man, thank you very much, man, for the $1 donation, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Burns, babies, he says, let's go, man. Let's see. Burns, baby, Burns. Let's go, easy. And Shane, what's going on, man? Let's go. Good to see you, Shane, man. Let's go. Burns, Quan. I think I know Shane from Twitter, if I'm not mistaken. He's a Michigan fan. I like him if it's that guy. He says, let's go. Burns, Quan really worked his way out of the grace of Big Blue Nation. Big mistake to be a tush-push blocker. Listen, man, I love Saquon. I love him a little bit less today. So, you know, I'm not rooting for you on Philadelphia. I'm upset that I can't root for him. I wanted to root for him because I do think he got a raw deal here. But listen, you chose the Eagles. See ya. Cole says, build the trenches first, then you add the skill players. If anything, we should take away from our rivals like what the Cowboys did with their offensive line. I mean, Cole, look at the best teams in this division for the last 5, 6, 7 years. What do they have and what don't we have? Simple as day. Cowboys for the last 8, 9, 10 years have had, if not the best offensive line over that span, among one of the top 2 or 3, top 4 offensive lines in football. Eagles over the last 5 years, same thing. That's why they consistently win and we don't. Consistently, the Eagles have had a really good pass rush. Consistently, the Cowboys have had a pretty good pass rush. We're lacking in those areas. Until we get better in those areas, we're not going to compete with those football teams. It's really as simple as that. Understandably, we need an upgrade at the quarterback. I'm not saying we don't. It's the most important position. But we need to address the pass rush in the offensive line. So I'm glad to see that the New York Giants are doing that today by getting Brian Burns and attacking that offensive line. Jova says, chances the New York Giants trade back in the first to acquire more picks, maybe another second. That's possible. It all comes down to what you can get in a trade. I don't want to trade back like 2 spots just to get another day 2 pick. That's just me. If you really like a guy at 6, take him. I would. If I'm Joe Schoen, I wouldn't want to live with the potential regret. Like, say he thinks Neighbors is the best player on his board at 6, and he trades back to 8, and he ends up with a Dunze. Let's just hypothetically say that happens, and then Neighbors ends up to be the much better player, and Schoen had him as the better player on his board. I wouldn't want to live with that regret if I were Schoen. If I had the ability to take Neighbors there, and he turns out to be the much better player to get an extra day 2 pick. If I'm trading back from 6, I'm going to trade back to 12 or 13, and I'm going to ensure I get myself a future first. I'm not trading back for peanuts. I'm trading back if I could significantly help future draft capital in next year's draft if I see that I may need to go after a quarterback. So that's the way I look at it. I'm not trading back for 2 spots. If I'm trading back, I'm getting significant draft capital. And I don't know if the deal is going to be there, but we'll see on draft night. But if I had to guess right now, I think the Giants are going to stand pat. They're going to stay at 6, and they're going to grab their guy. I don't know who that guy's going to be. I'm leaning it'll be a wide receiver. Liam says, imagine we got Snead too. We'd have to trade for him, right? The Chiefs tagged him. We'd have to trade for him. But hey, we just made a trade. But I don't want to give up any more draft capital. Clark says, Burns is good. Joe is not ghetto shit. He knows. Hey, man, I'm happy, man. He's young and he's talented at one of the most important positions on a football team. So that's only going to help Kayvon. That's only going to help Kayvon. That's only going to help Dexter. I'm excited about this pass rush next year, man. If there's one thing that I think you should be really excited about going into next year, it's the pass rush. Let's see. Joseph says, is it possible we can land Neighbors and Daniels in the draft? No. How are you going to do that? No. They're both going to be top 6 picks. No chance. Let's see. Welvin says, can you check Bobby Skinner's Twitter on BB stats, Brian Burns' stats? Let's take a look. I mean, I knew he had 9 sacks last year, if that's what you're talking about. I knew that already. What else did he say? That's all he said. He showed a highlight of him. Oh, wait. Oh, Giant. Here we go. Giants. Here we go. I think this is what you were talking about. Giants edge Brian Burns pass rush stats for edge players. Sacks, he had 9 last year, which ranked 28th. 2022, he had 12.5, which ranked 10th. 2021, he had 9, which ranked 27th. Solid numbers, good numbers. 9+ sacks 3 straight years. Quarterback hits, solid. Pressures, he's a good player, man. And you pair him opposite Kayvon Thibodeau, with Dexter Lawrence on the defensive line, I'm excited. Am I telling you he's Nick Bosa? No, but he's a very good edge rusher. And you pair him opposite Kayvon Thibodeau, it should help the pass rush significantly. Let's see. Todd says, know who doesn't like the Burns trade? Dak and Jalen. Certainly don't. And Nelson, are you going to predict the record with Burns? How could I predict the record? I don't even know who our quarterback's going to be. I can't predict our record yet. Got to see how they build the rest of this team, man. And who cares, man? It's just a prediction. Most of the time, I'm going to be wrong. Getting the record right is a lot of luck involved, right? Team has to stay healthy. Whenever you do those record predictions, you're basing it off of at least I am optimistically thinking the team is going to stay relatively healthy, and they never do. And the one year that I thought they were going to bomb and win, I think it was 6 games, they won 9 and they made the playoffs. I think I was right one year. I predicted 6 in 2020 when Joe Judge was the head coach, and they won 6. But that's a lot of luck, man. It's hard to say, man. I got to see how they build the rest of the team. Let's see. Olivier Vernon 2.0. Let's see. Our front 7 is insane. Tibbs, Dex, Burns, Bobby Okereke, A. McFadden, and potentially Simmons. Yeah, we'll see if we bring Simmons back. Yeah, we gave a 5th, Matthew. We essentially gave... This is the best way to break down the trade. We traded, but think of it like we traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns, and we traded back from 39 to 47 in this year's draft. That's essentially what happened. because we gave up the 5th round pick, I believe, that, and there's a 5th round pick swap. But we gave up the 5th round pick that we got in the Dexter Lawrence, in the Leonard Williams trade. And we gave up the 39th pick instead of the 47th, which we acquired for Leo. So think of it like we traded back from 39 to 47, and we traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns. And obviously we paid Brian Burns. That's a part of it, but that's basically what happened. Kevin says, if wide receivers at 6, what quarterbacks do you like in free agency? If we're going to go quarterback in free agency, I mean, I think that's going to be the real domino for me. Like once I see what we do at the quarterback in free agency, that's when I'll have my mind, at least I will have my mind set on this is what I think they're going to do. Right now I'm leaning wide receiver, but if they do not address the backup quarterback position at all, or they address it with like a no-name backup, then I might say, okay, it's very possible we'll be drafting a quarterback early. But if they sign a good backup, especially after what they just did, giving up a 2nd round pick to get Brian Burns, I will be more so in the camp of I think we're going wide receiver. But listen, there's a lot of good potential backups they could. I mean, I don't know if Tyrod Taylor will want to be back. He may not have liked the way that they handled his contract situation last year. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, by them playing DeVito, it didn't allow him to hit a certain bonus. So he probably wasn't in love with that. I don't know if he'll be back or not, but makes sense. He knows the offense. He was good for the Giants for the most part, especially for a backup last year. Would make sense. Gardner Minshew would make sense. Ryan Tannehill makes sense. There's a bunch of potential backups that the New York Giants could look into. It's a matter of who they feel fits the offense the best. But if they spend a decent amount of money, though, on a backup quarterback, I'm even more inclined to think we won't be drafting a quarterback at 6th overall. But if they don't, I'll think the opposite. It's much more possible. Fabian says, coming full circle, Tiki gone, SB, Bark gone. Yeah, I think Giants fans have forgiven Tiki Barber at this point. I obviously didn't like the way that he treated Coughlin and Eli on the way out, but he was a fantastic player for this organization. And obviously right now, Giants fans aren't in love with Saquon Barkley after what he did today. Daniel says, big fan from Brazil. Well, thanks for popping in, man. Would you prefer JJ at 6 or trade the 70th for Justin Fields? Like, if I have to do one, I have to do one. And I'm a fan of JJ, Daniel. You know that if you watch me, I like him. He is, I think he has a very high ceiling. But if I had to do one, and I don't want to do either, if I'm being honest, I don't want to take JJ at 6, and I don't want to trade for Justin Fields. But if I had to do one, I would sooner trade a 3rd round pick for Justin Fields and not have to surrender the 6th overall pick on McCarthy. I think I'd be more in line with that. I love McCarthy in the sense of like a Jordan Love move. If you trade back up into the 1st, but McCarthy's not getting there. There's too many quarterback-starved teams. Yeah, I just think the 6th pick with all the holes this team currently has, it's too big of a gamble. But listen, if they like him, I'll support it. I hope it works out. I do like the kid, but I don't think I like him enough with the way that this team is currently built to take it 6th overall. Drake May, different discussion. Caleb Williams, different discussion. Mountain Bastard says, bring back Leonard Williams on the cheap, already has chemistry. I think Leonard Williams is going to get a pretty decent contract, man. The D-tackle market last year was insane. I think he's going to get a pretty decent contract somewhere. I don't think you're going to get him back on like a really cheap deal. Somebody will be willing to give him something decent. I'm not saying he's going to get $20 million a year, but I think somebody will pay him something decent. Jay Rada says, take JJ at 6, sit behind DJ all of 2024. I wouldn't listen. If they take JJ, I think that's the best approach, but I don't think they would sit him behind DJ all year if you took him at 6th overall. I think there would just be way too much pressure if the team wasn't playing well to put him in the game. If you take him at 25, that's another discussion. But if you take him at 6, I don't think you'd be able to sit him the entire year if the team was bad. If the team was good, yeah, you could. Dan, what's going on, man? How much do you think we got after restructuring now? Dan, it's impossible for me to say because I don't know how they're going to structure this contract. But what I'll tell you, Dan, is they still have plenty of cap. Like, if they want to go out there and spend and sign 2 big free agents, they still can. I'm not worried about that. They could structure these deals accordingly. Knowing that you're more than likely going to have a quarterback on a rookie salary in the near future, whether it be this year, next year, the year after that, you could be somewhat aggressive here and bring in some young players and be able to space that money out down the line. Sign them to long-term deals like we just did with Brian Burns. So if they want to sign a couple more young players that they feel could fit with this team long-term, I definitely think it's a possibility. I don't think this Brian Burns deal is going to prevent them from doing that. You could space out the money with the Burns deal. You could space out the money with the Thomas deal, the Dexter Lawrence deal. There's things that they could do. I'm not worried about that. The question is, how aggressive do the Giants want to be? And I think it's got to make sense. It's got to be young players that they feel help them in the here and now and long term, like they feel obviously with Brian Burns. Independent. So the Giants trade a 2 and a 5th rounder for Brian Burns, sign him to a 5-year deal, 87.5 guaranteed. Okay, then we are now serious. Yeah, I mean, I think it's both a win-now move and a long-term move because of his age. And so I don't necessarily mean that we're serious in terms of winning a Super Bowl this year. But, yeah, I think the Giants are not completely knocking the team down. I think they're trying to be competitive this year, but they realize they're still, they need to bring in young players because they're not ready to win a Super Bowl this year. Hope Saquon don't go to Philly. Who wants to break the news to Rob? Rob, my man, did you just wake up, man? Love you, Rob. Did you just wake up? Rob says he hopes Saquon doesn't go to Philly. Rob, I cross my fingers, man. Cross my fingers, man. I hope you're right, man. I hope you're right, man. I hate to see him in an Eagles uniform. John, what's going on, man? He says, Chris, how are you, my friend, on the surface level? I don't like Barkley move because he hasn't lived up to the overall pick. We have to pray it works. What's going on, John, man? Good to see you. John, of course, a big Eagles fan. I mean, listen, here's what I'll say about the move from an Eagles perspective. It makes a lot more sense for you guys than it does us because you guys are in a Super Bowl window. You have a much more developed team than we do. You can maximize what Saquon Barkley's talents are. We can't. So it's an aggressive move, and it's a move that could certainly not work out. And normally I would say I don't love paying a running back what you guys did, but if somebody's going to do it, you're one of the 4, 5, 6 teams that I think it is reasonable to do so, much like the 49ers did with Christian McCaffrey. But do I think you overpaid? Yeah, I think you overpaid. He's 27 years old. He's got an injury history. He's still really good, but he's not as good as he was when he, his first, second, third year in the league. That's not a knock on him. That's most players, especially at that position. So yeah, I think you overpaid, but it could work out for the Eagles. I wouldn't be stunned if it does. Sid, what's going on, man? Can't play DJ in 2024 due to the injury guarantee. It got overshadowed by the Burns trade, but the Lunar deal is huge for the. I like that deal. I mean, obviously, it's not the splash move of the Brian Burns, but I like that deal. He was a guy, as soon as they made the deal, I'm like, okay, makes sense. He's the guy from the Raiders, the offensive line coach. I like that deal. We need as much depth and competition on this offensive line as we could get. So I like that deal. They went with, they went with Runyan, who's a bit younger. But yeah, these are guys that are gap fillers as you continue to try to further develop your younger linemen. A guy like an Azudu, you probably draft a lineman at some point relatively early in this year's draft, but they're guys that could get you by for a few years. So yeah, I like that move. I'm fine with that move. You need to invest in the offensive line, especially with how bad our line is. Didn't know what happened. Just got out of work. My bad. Yeah, man. Sorry for the bad news, man. Let's see. How did Eckler only get $5.65 million? How old is Eckler, Joe? Good to see you, Joe, man. How you doing, man? How old is Eckler? What is he, 27? 20? I don't even know. A kid called Chris says, Brian Burns, baby. Check out his tweet. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Brian Burns. Where is he? What's his Twitter handle? I'm trying to find him. What's his Twitter handle? Let me know. What's his handle or his tag? Let's see. Eckler watched last year. Fireburns 99. Okay. Oh, he doesn't have a check mark. He's only got 39,000 followers. Oh, he's got it. What is this?
I always wanted to go to Madison Square Garden, see the Knicks play.
New York City?
First class.
The Plaza Hotel?
Maybe a little mushu.
Amen to that, brother.
There you go.
I always wanted to go to Madison Square Garden, see the Knicks play.
New York City?
First class.
The Plaza Hotel?
I like
Maybe a little mushu.
Amen to that, brother.
I like it. I like it. I like it. One of my favorite good cop, bad cop movies. Let's see. Let's see. Kayvon retweeted and said, "Amen, brother. Love it." JJ said, "Going to be a long next few seasons." I mean, we're used to it at this point. Young Hendrick says, "Tana, what are you hoping we do next? Get a corner. I want to get a corner. I want to get a solid veteran corner that could, man the fort maybe for a few years. That's what I want. That's what I want." Meanwhile, Barkley's been acting real childish on Twitter since the signing, aka acting like an Eagle. Man, it is what it is. I'm done with him. I don't need to hear from him anymore. He's an Eagle. Jeff says, which second round pick the Giants? 39. 39. I love the trade. I love the trade, Jeff. May not work out, but I love the trade. You moved back 8 spots. Again, I'm going to continue to say this for anybody tuning into the stream. The way I look at that trade is because you gave up the pick that you got a 5th round pick and a 2nd round pick for Leonard Williams. The 2nd round pick amounted to be the 47th overall pick. So the way I look at this is you gave up a pick swap in the 5th round and you moved back from 39 to 47 and you traded Leonard Williams for Brian Burns. Yeah, I like that trade. I mean, obviously we paid him, but that's part of it. That's why they were looking to trade him. Let's see. Yeah, I know Austin Eckler went to the Commanders. Do you think we could sign another player like I doubt, Steven, that they're going to spend big on the offensive line at this point. They may sign another depth player or another solid lineman, but I don't think they're going to spend at the top of the market. Andrew says at that position. Andrew says, "Hey, Chris, thanks for taking the comment." You're welcome, Andrew. Thanks for popping in. Would you consider burning Saquon's? No, I don't burn jerseys. Let's see. I want Neighbors at 6, and every time he scores, you say, "Hello, Neighbors." I like it. And Cowboys MLB says, what Joe did with Saquon Barkley was business. What Saquon Barkley did was personal. He declared war. MetLife game will be Sunday Night Football opener for sure. F that guy. I'm going to be fair to Saquon. I think it's a bit of business because I do think that Philadelphia definitely offering more money probably than anybody else. I don't think most teams were touching that deal that he got. But hey, the Giants fan of me says screw it. You're an enemy, man. I don't care, man. I don't care if the Eagles offer you a little bit more money than everybody else. You were a Giant. We drafted you. We took you 2nd overall. You said you wanted to be a Giant for life. And I understand it's a business. I understand rationally thinking that it was because it was probably the best deal he got. But I'm with you. You're an Eagle. You chose to go there. You're dead to me. I'm with you, man. Let's see. And Allison, thank you for being a member. She says, Chris, hi, almost 3 years of being a member. I appreciate it. How do you think the draft plays out after being what we have done so far? How do you feel about X at 26? I'm not surprised. What's up, Jake, man? Thanks for popping in. I'm not surprised that we didn't bring back McKinney and Barkley. I expected that. So I was honestly, Allison, I was stunned. I shouldn't use the term stunned because that's the way Giants Twitter and just being a fan in general is. You're reactionary. But I was pretty surprised at how big of a negative reaction that came out when the Giants did not tag Saquon Barkley and Xavier McKinney. Because I expected it. I thought that was always what was going to happen. So I'm not surprised by this. And McKinney got the exact deal that I said that would probably be the max that I'd be willing to do or be comfortable with as a fan if Joe Schoen were to sign him to that deal, 4 years, $68 million. I would have never touched Barkley for the price that the Eagles signed him for. So for this current team, so I'm not upset about it. I mean, I would wish Barkley good luck if he went anywhere else but the Cowboys or the Eagles. Unfortunately, he chose the Eagles. So I can't wish him good luck. That's my arch nemesis. And then as far as McKinney goes, I would, in a perfect world, I would have liked it back. I wouldn't have been upset if we signed him to the deal that he got. But at the same time, I'm not going to fault Joe Schoen for wanting to invest his money in the defensive line as opposed to the safety position. I'm happier that we have a guy like Brian Burns as opposed to McKinney. Would I like both? Of course. But, I expected McKinney to get a deal like that. He's 24 years old. He's really talented. But the way I look at it is Shane he doesn't put value into those positions. And to be fair, that's most GMs in the league. Most GMs in the league aren't paying top dollar for a safety. It's why the Jets traded Jamal Adams. They spent like the 5th pick on him. He was a tremendous safety. They traded him because they didn't want to pay him. Running back position, same thing, right? Most teams aren't spending top dollar for a running back. So his mindset, I don't disagree with. My mindset as a GM would be to invest heavily in terms of my cap in the offensive and defensive line. So I'm not going to kill him for it. Let's see how he builds the team. I'm happy with the acquisition of Brian Burns. Quinn says, hey, Chris, can we bring in Aaron Jones, two-headed beast? Stand up. What's going on, Quinn? I don't know what the price would be. I don't know what the price would be for Aaron Jones, but no, I don't think we're going to invest any more money in the running back after getting Singletary. If you were going to do that, you might as well have just brought back Barkley. If you were going to pay $6, $7, $8 million to 2 running backs, you might as well have just brought back Barkley. So I think that kind of defeats the purpose. So no, I don't see them doing that. If they had a running back, I think it'll be in the draft. Not obviously day 1, not day 2, but at some point in the draft, if they're going to add a running back, I think it'll be in the draft. Let's see. Leo Williams went to San Francisco? I saw somebody say Williams went to San Francisco. Is that Leo Williams? Let's take a look. If he did, he's going to be a beast there, man. I don't see anything about Leonard Williams, so. Yeah, we got Brian Burns, Carlos. No, I didn't see what he tweeted. And Justin, what's going on, man? Someone said LPG, what's next? He said cornerback. I think it's obvious if we're going to spend big at this point. I think it's going to be a cornerback. It's just the clear glaring need on that defense at this point, right? So that's what I think we'll do. I don't think we're going to spend big on a wide receiver because we could draft one at 6th overall. David, what's going on, man? He says, I love this trade. Over under on how many holding calls the other team will get trying to block Burns, Tibbs, and Sexy Dexy. It should be much higher than what it's going to be because we never seem to get those calls. But it's going to be much lower rather than it should be. Kayvon never gets the calls. So, but yeah, that's going to help everybody. You're not going to be able to double team Kayvon. It's going to open up the middle for Dexter Lawrence. The Giants now have weapons all over that defensive front. Oh, Leonard Floyd went to San Francisco. That's a good pickup for them. He's a much better fit for a team like that than a team like us. A little bit older, a win-now team. That defensive line is ridiculous. Now you add Leonard Floyd to it. He replaces Chase Young, who didn't really work out there. I'm interested to see where Chase Young ends up, and I'm interested to see what the acquiring team pays for him. I'm interested to see where he goes. Let's see. Now let's rebuild other pieces through the draft. I mean, that's what we got to do. Key to the Gate says, what is there to be happy about with the Giants? I mean, you can choose to be upset or whatever. But I listen. What is there to be happy about? I think we just added Brian Burns. I'm happy about that. I think that's going to help the pass rush in a big way. We added some depth on the offensive line. It may not be sexy, but it's an improvement over what we had over the worst unit in the NFL. And we still got a draft to go. And we still got, another week or so, probably a free agency. So let's see how they build this team. But, yeah, I think the Brian Burns is an impact move, man. I'm happy about it. We getting Tannehill? Somebody say, I wouldn't be surprised if we get Tannehill. LPG tweet. What's going on, Nikki, man? Thanks for popping in, man. Let's take a look at what LPG said. I think somebody already told me. He said cornerback, right? If he did, I'm not surprised. That's what I would expect at this point. Yep. Any other moves coming, LPG said cornerback. So there you go. That's what LPG is saying. We're going to go get a cornerback. I think that's what they should do. So I'm happy if they get a cornerback. Mark, man, what's going on, man? He says, did Riddick sign anywhere? Not that I know of. I haven't heard that. Not that I know of. Of course, you're talking about Hassan Reddick from the. I'm assuming you're talking. Oh wait, the Eagles. Oh no, never mind. They're talking about when they prior. Is he's a free agent, right? Hassan Reddick. Oh no, the Adam Schefter said they're looking to potentially trade Hassan Reddick. So I guess he's still currently under contract with the Eagles, but they're looking to potentially trade him. Let's see. Yeah, that's what Schefter said today. They're looking to potentially trade him. We gave up a second and fifth rounders for Burns. That's a steal. Yeah, I mean, we gave up Leonard Williams for Brian Burns, essentially, and moved back 8 spots in the second round. That's basically what we did. And a pick swap. Let's see. Would you like to get Justin Simmons or think it's... No, I don't. I mean, of course I would like him, but no, I don't think we're going to... No, I don't think that's possible. I mean, anything's possible, but no, I don't think it's going to happen. Any recommendations of safety? Let's take a look at the safety market. Obviously, McKinney's already... All right, let's go over the guys that have already been signed. What's his name was already tagged? Winfield. McKinney signed for 4 years, $68 million. Darnell Savage, 3 years, $21 million. He was the only high-priced one. In terms of guys that are available... Simmons' market value... They got him only at 11.1 according to Spot Track, but I think that's too low. I think they had McKinney around that ballpark too. He is 30 though. Micah Hyde is older, but if you want to go for like a veteran fill-in for a year or two, I don't know. Maybe. He's from the Bills. Obviously, not a long-term answer. Not anybody I'm going to get excited about. I don't know. What's the chat think? Is there some names out there? Byard, yeah. Did he sign already? Byard. It comes from yeah, he signed. Chicago, I think. 2 years, $15 million. I think. That's what this is showing, at least. Poyer's available still. Again, older. He's 32. Ken O'Neal. I don't know how good he is. He's 28, but I don't think he's, he used to be a good player. I don't think he's very good anymore. Let's see. Catch up with you guys. Love the Burns move. Huz says, do you think I think the plan is probably to play guard, but if Evan Neal's not good, they at least have the option. I think Evan Neal, let's put it this way. I think Evan Neal can't stink it up in camp. I think he's going to have to earn his spot. He can't stink it up. And my guess is Neal's going to get the first crack, but if he sucks this year, I wouldn't be stunned if they pull the plug relatively early. Dread Blue, what's going on? Good to see you, Dana. Happy with the moves we made today. And Saquon could suck it. I'm with you, man. Saquon could suck it. I would have been happy and thrilled for Saquon that he got his money if he went anywhere but the Eagles or the Cowboys. He chose the wrong destination. I'm with you. Let's see. I can't believe Baker Mayfield. I actually think the Baker Mayfield contract, I know some people may laugh, but I think the Baker Mayfield contract was less than I thought he would get. I think Mayfield took a discount, to be honest with you. I think he took a discount. Let's see. The quarterback market's outrageous, man. We saw it last year. Oh, they brought him back. So obviously, Nikki, I had a feeling that we weren't going to get a Wanu after we just signed 2 linemen, but obviously a guy that was a target for a lot of Giants fans, but not surprised by that. Cushman, what's going on, man? F Saquon Barkley. We got Big Van Burns now. Let's go, Cush. Let's go, Cush. Let's go, man. Good to see you, Cushman. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Let's see. Who was the second? We signed what's his name? The junior. Why is the name escaping me right now? Somebody in the chat say it. Runyan. John Runyan Jr. we signed. Who obviously his father used to play for the Eagles. He's been with the Packers. Solid. He's a good pass protector by all accounts. He had a high pass blocking grade. Not good as a run blocker. His overall PFF grade, not good. I don't know how much you want to go by that. But he's young. I think he's 25. He was a 6th-round pick like 3 or 4 years ago. So we'll see. But yeah, we signed Runyan. I think it was about $10 million a year. I don't know what the guarantee is, but $10 million a year. I think the guarantee is 17, which you figure they'll be an easy out after the second year if they want to. Let's see. Yeah, Runyan. I think Runyan's played 16 games 3 years in a row, Maximus. And Joe Shade Train, stand up, new member. Thanks for popping in the stream, man. Wide receiver, please, or Fields. What do you mean in the draft, Tip, or do you mean in free agency? Obviously, Fields isn't a free agent. You'd have to trade for him, but wide receiver, do you mean in the draft or free agency? We're going to address wide receiver. I promise you that. I'm leaning it's going to be in the draft. It's a rich wide receiver draft class where we're picking. We're in a prime spot to draft a wide receiver. I don't think we're going to want to invest $20 million a year in a wide receiver when we have the ability to draft one where we're picking, and it's a rich class. So I think you're going to get your wish. I just don't think we're going to do it in free agency. Andrew, man, thank you for being a member, man. I appreciate it, man. He says, what high target free agents are still left? Let me take a look. Let me take a look at we'll share it with the chat. 1 second. Let's take a look at the overall free agency market. This is just safety. Oh, no, this is all types, actually. No, this is just the safeties. All positions. So these are the signings today. Well, I missed that one. I was working today. I missed that one. Wow, Kirk Cousins got 4 years, $180 million. He's 35 years old. The Atlanta Falcons. So that kind of that takes them out of the possibility of a team that may trade up for a quarterback in this year's draft at 8th overall. So quarterback picture starting to get a little bit clearer in terms of this year's draft. Christian Wilkins goes to Las Vegas for $110 million, $27.5 million a year on average, making that Dexter Lawrence extension last year look better and better. The guard market was insane. Robert Hunt got $100 million, 5 years, guaranteed of $63 million, $20 million a year for Robert Hunt. Greenard, the defensive end from Houston, signs with Minnesota. He's going to replace Danielle Hunter, who I don't think is signed yet. He got $76 million, $19 million a year, 42 of which is guaranteed. The guaranteed figures, I guess, for McKinney aren't out yet, at least according to Spot Track. But he got 4 years, $68 million. I'm sure they are out, but they didn't post it yet. Bryce Huff, I think this was a good signing, as much as I hate to say it, for the Eagles. 3 years, $51 million, a little under $18 million a year on average. I think that was a solid move for the Eagles. He's young. I liked him. Jonah Jackson goes to Detroit, 3 years, $51 million. So $17 million there for the guard. Cushenberry, the center, got $12.5 million on average. Jacobs got 12. Wow, Jacobs got $12 million. Running backs, are these projections? Well, I don't know, because I know some of these deals are what happened. That's what Robert Hunt got. No, these are legitimate. Wow, Josh Jacobs got $12 million a year. Only 12.5 is guaranteed, though, if you look there. That's really the number that matters. Only 12.5 guaranteed. Barkley, for example, got we'll round up and say $38 million over 3 years, but he got 26 guaranteed. So more than double what Jacobs got in terms of guaranteed money. Let's take a look at some of the best available guys now that we're going through these lower tier signings. Austin Eckler, the contract's not posted yet, but he's 29. Wow. Well, people are asking me why he got $5.5 million a year. Well, there you have it. He's 29 years old. That's why. Running backs typically fall off, and he's not coming off his best year last year. Epinesa was a guy. I don't know if he's signed. They're not posting that he has. Maybe. Oh, wait. It has a 2 next to his name. So maybe. Oh, yeah. It says Buffalo re-signed him. I think it just doesn't have the money figures yet. He was a guy that I thought the Giants may be interested in. He's 25 years old, a guy that Joe Shane was in on the drafting process for. But the dollar figures haven't come out yet. But apparently he has re-signed with Buffalo. Let's look at some of the. Here we go. Here's the to be determined guys. Obviously, the quarterbacks are going to be, the bigger names. Ryan Tannehill still available. Leonard Williams still available. The former Giant Danielle Hunter, 29. When obviously not in the market for him. We just signed Brian Burns. Justin Simmons, if we're looking at safety, he's a possibility at least. Odell Beckham, we're not signing him, guys. Get it out of your head. Adoree Jackson, obviously, we're going to let walk. Derrick Henry still available. We're not signing him. We just signed a running back. We're not going to sign Tyron Smith. Let's see. Kendall Fuller, if we want to look at a corner. Darius Williams, we already brought in for a visit. He could make sense. He's a bit older, but again, he's a stopgap for a year or two. He could make sense. Gilmore, he's older, 33 years old. There's plenty of names still out there. I think we're going to attack corner. I think we're going to go secondary, and I think we're going to add one of these veteran backups, like a Jacoby Brissett, for example. I don't know what his market would be. He could make sense. There's a lot of backup. I think we'll sign one of those guys. I think we're going to add a corner. And we'll see where we go from there. Continue to add depth on the line, hopefully, whether it be on the D-line, O-line. But obviously, our biggest signing, I think, took place today, or trade, I should say, with Brian Burns. But there you go. There's some of the names still available. Let's see. Nick the Wick, thank you for being a member. He says, "Hey, Chris, hope all is well. I'm still at my JUCO, and James Franklin invited me to." That's awesome, man. Look for me in the 2020. Listen, you're huge, man. You definitely got a shot, man. I met Nick in person, man. He is a lineman in every sense of the word. And Aaron says, thoughts on more linebacking depth? Yeah, man, I think we need it. I mean, Okereke is obviously great, and McFadden looked really good last year. But, yeah, I think we could certainly use more linebacking depth, whether it be, a depth piece maybe in free agency or the draft, for sure. X-Man says, what's up, Chris? What players in free agency would you want the Giants to go after? Also, who would you want the Giants to pick at the 6th pick? Trade back with Denver. Yeah, well, X-Man, I think at this point, after what we've done, we're not going to spend big on the line anymore, I don't think. We signed 2 players on the line already. We signed, obviously, our edge rusher. So I think at this point, it's the corner. And, I mean, Darius Williams is obviously a guy we potentially have interested in. We brought him in for a visit, so he's a guy that's a possibility. Kendall Fuller, possibility. Let me look at the corners. Let me just pull up the corners. We're going to let Adoree go. I mean, all these guys are older, but, I mean, you're not signing these guys to be long-term pieces either, right? Obviously, Banks is going to be your long-term piece. You still, I think, are going to continue to try to address that position in the draft for your long-term answer. So I think they're going to sign one of these vets, whoever fits their price range and whoever they feel fits, their defense. Darius Williams, obviously, the guy I have my eye on right now because we brought him in for a visit. He was solid last year. I think he had like a 68 grade, if I'm not mistaken. $13 million a year is his projected salary. Who knows with the cornerback market? It's obviously not going to be a really long contract because he's 30 years old. But a guy like that, a guy that could fill in for a few years, I think that's what you're looking at. I think that'll be their next pretty big signing. I don't know if it'll be him, but I think we're going to sign a cornerback, man. I think that's what you're looking at. As far as the second part of your question, also, would you want the Giants to pick at the 6th pick or trade back with Denver? I mean, it depends, man. It depends on how good of a deal I could get for trading back. But I wouldn't be opposed to it. Like, if you could trade back and you could get a first, like, you look at Denver this year, man. And Denver, if they're trading up to 6, you have to figure they're a team that's just ripping it up, right? Like they paid all that money to cut Russell Wilson. They are completely ripping it up. And if they're willing to trade up to 6 and give us a future first, I look at Denver much like I looked at Chicago the year that we traded back and they took Justin Fields as a team that more than likely I'm going to get a pretty high first-round pick in the 2025 draft. So if they're willing to give me a first-round pick in next year's draft and I trade back to 12, yeah, I would certainly entertain that idea. But you also got to think about what you're passing up, right? We all thought it was a great idea when the Giants traded back from 11 to 22 or whatever it was. And on paper, it was, right? And just in terms of value, you got what amounted to be the 7th overall pick, I believe. Maybe it was the 5th. I can't recall which one it was, but we got either the 5th or 7th overall pick and pick 22 for the 11th pick. But what did we pass up by doing that? We ended up with Kadarius Toney and Evan Neal, and we passed up the opportunity to draft Micah Parsons or potentially Rashawn Slater if you wanted to go with the line, who would have helped us tremendously as well. So, I mean, it looks great on paper, but if you love a player, I think you stay there and you take your guy at 6. If you don't, yeah, I think it makes a ton of sense to get future draft capital if you get a future first-round pick. What's up, Peter Man? Thanks for popping in. He says, Saquon angered me greatly by 2 offensive linemen and Brian Burns. I'm over the moon. Finally invested in the line as a top priority. Pete, you're speaking my language, man. That's what I wanted them to do in free agency, so I'm happy, man. They're attacking the edge rusher. They're trying to fill holes on the offensive line. Hopefully they fill them properly, and we'll see what they do throughout the rest of free agency. Now I want a corner. Amazing Grace says, Tana, what is your thoughts on Barkley and Burns? I didn't get here right away. I mean, Barkley was obvious, man. Like, raise your hands in the chat and be honest with yourself. I know there's a lot of, obviously a big Barkley fans, but be honest with yourself in the chat. Who in this chat would have wanted Saquon Barkley back on the New York Giants for the deal that he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles? Who? Who in the chat? Please raise your hand. Please. Who would have wanted him back for 3 years, $39 million, $38 million, 26 of which was guaranteed? Who would have wanted him back for that deal? The possibility of reaching 46 if he hits incentives. Who would have wanted him back for that deal? Because I wouldn't have. And I love Saquon Barkley. So, I'm not gonna get upset about the Saquon Barkley thing. It is what it is. It's unfortunate that he went to the Philadelphia Eagles, but it is what it is. I'm not upset that we lost Saquon Barkley. It's just it didn't make a whole lot of sense, I think, to pay him that kind of money. Not for our current team. He may do great on the Philadelphia Eagles when he's got the best offensive line known to man, but not here. Not for that kind of price. Not with all the other holes we have on this roster. And listen, I love the Burns trade. I mean, obviously the contract's a lot, and people are going to look at that and they're going to be skeptical and they're going to be cautiously optimistic. But he's a really good player. He's going to help the pass rush, and that's what good young talented pass rushers get in today's market. You got him on a long deal. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, he's not Bosa, but what do you think that the high-end young edge rushers are going to get when they hit free agency? So it is what it is. Giants paid a lot to bring in a really talented edge rusher that they think is going to help further grow Kayvon Thibodeau, that they think is going to help further grow Dexter Lawrence, and they needed another premium pass rusher on this defense. So I'm happy. He's young. He fits the long-term direction of this football team. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy with that move. Let's see. Big Moose says, time to start the new Earth, Wind, and Fire. We have Eric Gray, Singletary. Just need one more. Love the running back by committee approach. Well, I think it's the smart. Most smart teams in the NFL do that. I mean, unless you're the 49ers, but the 49ers are built to they have the best all-around team in all of football, so they can afford to take a swing on a guy like a Christian McCaffrey, kind of like the Eagles, who have a very good all-around team. But if you're a team that's looking to build from the ground up, you probably shouldn't invest a ton in the running back spot. John says, we need a speedy linebacker. I'm sorry as well as Micah McFadden has played. He's not quick. Well, the other thing you got to question, John, and I like Micah McFadden, and I do think he's going to be a nice piece to this defense long-term. But we drafted Micah McFadden specifically for the Wink Martindale defense, right? Like, he was known well at college for being a really good blitzer up the middle. May not fit this defense quite as well. So I definitely agree with you, John, that the Giants have to address the linebacker spot at some point, whether it be in free agency, get a nice depth piece, or in the draft. I agree with you. I'm not saying that Mike McFadden can't be a long-term answer there, but yeah, we need more talent at that position as well. There's no doubt about it. I would love to know how much Devin White would cost, or Queen. I have no idea. I would lean we're going to spend more towards corner than linebacker, because last year we invested a lot in the linebacker, right? We signed Bobby Okereke. I could see us drafting a linebacker, or I could see us signing maybe a value linebacker. I don't think we're going to sign a high-end linebacker. Joshua, what's going on, man? We won our championships by getting to the quarterback. Love this move. Let's go, Giants. Joshua, football is a pretty simple game. Protect the quarterback, get after the quarterback, and find a quarterback. That's it, man. Find a way to be able to get after the opposing quarterback, find a way to be able to protect your quarterback, and find a quarterback that can elevate his teammates. You do those three things, you're going to win a lot of football games. It's a lot easier said than done, but yeah, I like the strategy of getting Brian Burns because that's going to help us attack the quarterback. And I like the idea of buffing up the interior offensive line because hopefully that should help protect our quarterback. So that's what wins in the NFL. That's what has always won in the NFL. That's what's going to continue to win in the NFL. Let's see. Let's see. McFadden was great last year. Just be happy that we didn't have to worry about that position for the first time. I'm happy with McFadden. I'm not saying replace him. I wouldn't mind adding depth at that position, though. I don't think we're going to spend high at that position in free agency, especially after, like I said, what we spent on Okereke last year. Tim says, does trading for Burns hurt the potential comp picks? No, I don't believe it does. I don't want to 100% say that, but I don't believe it does. I don't think it does, no, which makes me like that trade even more. Because if the Giants stay under what Barkley got on in terms of APY, and they stay under what McKinney got in terms of APY, they're going to receive comp picks for both those players. Might be 2 third-round picks in 20. What would that be? What would that be, guy? I think that's for the 2020. Is it next year's draft? Not this year's draft. I think it's the following year's draft, or it might be the year after that. Regardless, I think they'll for sure the McKinney one will amount in a 3rd-round pick, and I would lean the Barkley one would as well. It's 25. Okay. It's 25. Okay, 25. Okay, so there you go. So you might end up with two 3rd-round picks out of that. I mean, certainly one from McKinney if you don't offset it by spending big on another incoming free agent, and at least you would think a 4th for the Barkley contract if you don't offset that. Let's see. Jake says, why draft 2 mediocre guards rather than I think you meant to say why sign, but I know obviously what you mean. Rather than 1 stud. What's your take? I feel like this team does this time. Yeah, I mean, Jake, I actually lean more towards you. I wanted them to spend at the top of the market for the guard. I mean, ultimately, what do I think why they didn't do it? I mean, probably because they didn't agree with the market for the guard position. I mean, the guards got $20 million a year. Shane probably felt like that was out of the price range. And he probably said to himself, well, we brought him who I feel is a better offensive line coach. Let's bring in a guy that's worked with the new offensive line coach before who he likes. Let's bring in a 25-year-old who's solid in pass protection. And let's continue to try to address this in the draft. But I was with you. I wanted them to spend big at the guard. I wanted them to get Hunt. He probably didn't feel he was worth $20 million a year, which is what he got. 5 years, $100 million. That's ultimately why he didn't bring him in. Probably because they felt the guard market was too high. It's higher than I thought it would be. I'll say that. But I was with you, man. I wanted a high end or as good of a guard as we could possibly bring in. But we should know as well as anybody that doesn't always work out, right? Like we were all happy when we brought in Nate Solder. He was the best available left tackle in free agency. It doesn't always work out. So we'll see how it works. I'm just happy we brought in some talent on the offensive line, and hopefully it improves it. And I need them to continue to address it in the draft. Need to continue to do that. I'm not saying at 6th overall, but they need to continue to hammer home that offensive line. Let's see. Fabian says, breaking news, Giants running it back. Fabian loves Daniel Jones. We'll see, man. We'll see. Best available corner left. I might be. I mean, it might be Darius Williams. At least for obviously we're not bringing back Adoree Jackson. It might. Let me see who else is available. I mean, Gilmore's older. He's 33. But he's still solid. Kendall Fuller with Washington. Maybe it might be Fuller. He's pretty solid too. I don't know what he graded out last year, but he in recent years he's been a pretty good corner. and he's 29, almost 29 and a half. So, yeah, I would say one of those guys, maybe Fuller or Darius Williams. It probably comes down to whoever they feel is, the best fit for their defense. But yeah, you have to figure that they're at least intrigued by Williams. They brought him in for a visit. Let's see. Ranger says, Giants fans, he's gone. His head or heart was not there. Let's wash our hands of him. You know who. Let's start anew. My hands have been washed. My hands have been washed, man. As soon as I saw that Saquon Barkley was an Eagle before seeing the contract, and my hands were as dirty as could be. I looked as if my hands were in a mud pit. As soon as I saw the contract, man, I got 4 bars of soap and washed the hell out of my hands. My hands have been washed. Matter of fact, I washed my hands so much after I saw the contract that Saquon Barkley signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, I'm not going to have to wash my hands all week. My hands are as washed as could be. I'm good. I didn't want him back on that deal. What's going on? Jacob says, Johnny's looking good 5 in a row. We'll see if they can I think they got to beat Seton Hall to get into the tournament. How much cap do we have left? It's tough to say, Cribs, man. Here's what I'll say, Cribs. They have more than enough. If they want to still be aggressive, they could do it. They have so many options that they could do, whether it be space out the Burns contract, space out the Thomas contract, space out the Lawrence contract. If they want to be aggressive and they want to bring in a few more players to help next year's team, they certainly could do it. The question is, how aggressive do they want to be? How much do they like the remaining players in free agency? But they have more than enough cap to continue to try to build, for this year's roster. Neiman says, would you draft Bowers if you traded back with Denver? I mean, at 12, at that point, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just wouldn't love him at 6, but at 12, if he got there, I don't know if he will, but if he did, yeah, I would be completely okay with it. Keith says, what do you think we do with Simmons? Cheap deal. I think that helps in coverage. I mean, it depends. How well do they think he fits this defense? I think he was obviously a much better fit for Wink Martindale's defense. I don't know what Simmons' market is, but it comes down to how well they think he fits the new defensive philosophy. And it's a defense that doesn't ask. I don't know. I don't know how well he would fit in this defense. I don't know. I don't think it's nearly as good of a fit as it was with the Wink Martindale defense. I'll say that. And he's a guy that's kind of positionless. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to bring him back. I don't think they view him as a good fit in this defense. I would be pretty surprised if he's back, to be completely honest with you. I wouldn't be upset. I like him, but I don't think he'll be back. Swaz says, are we taking a quarterback, and where do you think Jones goes? Jones is going to be back with the Giants. What do you mean? Where does Jones go? Jones has a cap hit next year of $90 gajillion, so he's going to be a Giant. As far as the rest of your question, are we taking a quarterback? Yes, at some point we're going to take a quarterback. The question is when. But at some point, yeah, expect to take a quarterback. Is it going to be round 1? Is it going to be round 2? Is it going to be round 4? 5? I don't know. But yeah, I expect to take a quarterback at some point. I'd be surprised if we don't draft a quarterback at some point. The question is where, and I'm leaning right now it will not be in the first round. Won't rule it out, but I'm leaning it won't be in the first round. Let's see. He's definitely an upgrade. I mean, not saying much, but he's definitely an upgrade. Tick off of this offseason. It doesn't excuse a thoughtful, planful swing at long-term success. And Noah, man, stand up. What's going on, man? Thanks for becoming a member. Earl says, super move Burns for a 2 and a 5. I love the move. Hopefully it works out. Miguel says, let's say we don't draft a quarterback. DJ comes back and balls out and has a Pro Bowl type season. What do you do in that situation? I mean, that's a good problem to have. That's a good problem to have. That's great. If Daniel Jones comes back and plays like a Pro Bowler, I'll worry about it next year. But I mean, for him to play like a Pro Bowler, that means the team goes to the playoffs more than likely. He has a really good year, because even in the year where I thought he had a very good year in 2022, he wasn't a Pro Bowler, so he'd have to be even better than that. You probably keep him for another year at that point. You don't extend him, but you probably keep him for another year. But that's a good problem to have. Do I expect it? No, I do not. I do not. Yes, I don't know what. I think Thursday I'm going to be on with Bad Dog Zany on his channel. Any recommendations for a Giants jersey? All right. The safest Giants jersey right now, I would probably say, is either Andrew Thomas or Dexter Lawrence or Brian Burns after what they just paid him. Probably one of those three. If you want safety, if you want a guy that you know is going to be an impactful player for the team for the next 4 or 5 years, I would say one of those three guys. After that, I mean, your guess is, I mean, I like Deonte Banks, but there's no guarantees. I would say one of those three guys. Andrew Thomas, Dexter Lawrence, or Brian Burns, probably. Thibodeau, too. I already have Thibodeau, but yeah, Thibodeau, too. Bobby Okereke, that's a good one. That's a good one. I don't know, though, because I like Bobby Okereke. I do think he's going to be a part of this team for a while, but we saw, we probably thought the same thing about Blake Martinez, and he got hurt. Nikki says, Tana, the Panthers turned down 2 firsts and a second 2 years. Is that true? Actually, now that you mentioned that, I didn't know it was that much, but now that you mention it, I remember that they turned down a lot. I remember that. I didn't remember it was that much. The Rams offered 2 firsts and a second. Is that accurate? Hold on. I mean, if any team was going to do it, it would be the Rams. They love trading away draft pick. Reports claim that the Rams offered a first-round pick in 2024 and 2025, as well as a second-round pick in 2025 for Burns' services. Despite that massive haul, the Panthers ultimately turned the Rams down. And we think we have a bad GM. The Carolina Panthers turned that offer down, and they traded all that capital up, and they took Bryce Young instead of C.J. Stroud. Wow. Let's see. Noah says 1 Neighbors, 2 O-line, 3 Joe Milton. How we feel? I'm okay with that. I mean, I probably like Milton more in round 4, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. Sure, Milton at worst is a long-term backup. Maybe he could develop into something. I'm okay with that. Let's see. Reaction if we now get Chase. We're not getting him for that. No way we're getting him for that. J-Dog says, Chris, would you do this? Take best wide receiver available at number 6, then trade back into the first round for Penix Jr. I mean, at this point, J-Dog, I think it's much less likely that you're going to trade back in to the first round for a quarterback because we just traded our 39th overall pick. So that kind of takes away some of the ammunition to potentially trade up into the first round. So I think that idea that a lot of fans had, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's much less likely now. But listen, if you love a quarterback, whether it be Penix, whoever it is, and you could get him at 25, 26, yeah, I mean, I think you consider it for sure. But I think it's less likely it happens now. Let's see. Oh, that wasn't Dan Morgan who turned. That was another GM. Okay. Well, either way. last two years, they haven't been doing that good of a job. D-Win says we should try to swap first with the Bears' second first-round pick and get their second-round pick. At 9, you could still get a Dunze or Bowers if the Bears want Neighbors. I'm all for trading down. If you get a future first, I don't necessarily think we'd be able to get a future first if we traded back from 6 to 9. But if you get a future first, I'm all for trading down. Rich Rod says, Tana, Aziz will benefit the most. I mean, I like Aziz, but can he stay on the field? Like, Aziz is great, but can he stay on the field? I can't. I mean, this obviously signifies to me that Aziz is not going to be back with the Giants after this year. You're paying Brian Burns all that money. You're obviously projecting to pay Kayvon all that money. Aziz can't stay on that. I think Aziz, maybe you hope as a Giants fan this year that Aziz has a good year. He could stay healthy. He has a good year. And maybe you get a comp pick for him. Maybe a team pays $12, $13 million. Who knows? So that's what you hope. But I think for the trade for Burns, obviously, it's lending itself towards more than likely we're not retaining Aziz past this year. Let's see. Yeah, we got Burns. Let's go, man. Jay says, "Hey, Tane, have you watched film yet on Burns? I saw Burns coming out of college. I thought he was a really good prospect. The Giants almost drafted him in 2019 when we took Dexter Lawrence. I think it was that draft, right? Where I think Burns went before. Let me look. I think Burns went right before we picked or right after we picked. I can't recall. But I remember I liked him a lot that year. I wanted the Giants to draft him that year. But he's a good player, man. I mean, he's a very good player. That's right. He went the pick before us. And if I recall, I think Dave Gettleman, I think it came out that Gettleman wanted Burns. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember that. Obviously, I'm thrilled we got Dexter Lawrence. But he went the pick right before we did. And yeah, he's a really good player, man. I'm not going to say he's on the level of like a Bosa, but he's a really good player. Dylan says, what would your reaction be if Marvin Harrison Jr. fell to 6? I would be stunned. And I would say that the Arizona Cardinals should fire their general manager. It's not happening, but I'd be stunned. What's up, Harry? Hey, Chris, how are you? I want to take one back, but we've won nothing with him. Let's get the big play wide receiver at 6. Rome. I want to get the chat's thought on that. And Harry, man, thank you very much. I want to get the chat's thought on that because I was firmly in the camp of Malik Neighbors if we're going wide receiver at 6. If he's there, he might go 5. But I was firmly in the camp of Malik Neighbors. I think I'm still slightly in the camp of Malik Neighbors, but I'm definitely closer to 50-50 than I was after watching Rome Odunze. He was much more athletic than I thought he was at the combine. We all knew he was great in terms of a contested catch wide receiver, but I'm pretty close there. I think I'm slightly leaning Neighbors, but I'd be happy with either one. Odunze, Neighbors. I want Rome because he's a big receiver, could go up, and yeah, that's obviously the appeal for him over Neighbors. Is he has that over him. Let's see, JD, are you able to put a poll in the chat? You should. That's a good one. I think I should too, JD. Hold on, let me see if I can do that. I like that. That's a good poll to have. Good to see JD. JD's the man. JD's the man. Hope he's doing well. Always love talking to him on Twitter. Let's see. I think what I got to do, JD, is I got to pull up the actual YouTube chat, which I'm going to do right now. We're going to set a poll because I'm actually very curious. I'm very curious to get your guys' take on this. Who would you take? Who do you prefer at wide receiver 2? I bet you it's going to be damn near 50-50. I bet you it's going to be damn near 50-50, guys. I'm still slightly leaning Neighbors, but it's close. But yeah, let's see what you guys think. I just posted the poll. You guys let me know in the chat. You guys vote. Odunze or Neighbors? I'd be happy with either one. Giants Realist says, would you stay at 6 and take Neighbors or trade back and get a first with a team you think might have a top 5 pick next year? Giants Realist, if I had the choice, as much as I would love to get Neighbors or Odunze, if I could get a future first-round pick from the Denver Broncos, who I do think will be picking top 5 in next year's draft, especially if they're trading up for J.J. McCarthy, because I don't think he's ready to be a starter yet in the NFL. And they're obviously stripping their team down. So if I could get a future first from the Denver Broncos, if I trade back to 12, as much as I would love to get Neighbors or Odunze, it is a pretty deep wide receiver draft class, and I could get a future first and still get an impactful player at 12. I think I would prefer that. Now, we don't know if that trade's available, but in that hypothetical, yeah, I think I would go that route. Obviously, we could regret it, right? We regretted it in 2022 when most Giants fans were pretty happy with that trade down when we did it, especially when we saw the pick we were going to get. But obviously now you wouldn't want to do it. So you could certainly regret it, but I would be open to that. Nick says, Chris, can you give a shout out to my 9-year-old daughter, Charlotte? Nick, thank you so much for being here. And Charlotte, Thanks for tuning in the channel. Appreciate it. She was a Barkley fan. Well, Charlotte, I sympathize with you because I'll be the first to say, Charlotte, the reason why I became a diehard New York Giants fan was Tiki Barber. He was the first player I absolutely fell in love with. And I say it all the time. I named my dog as a child. I was like 12. I named my dog after Tiki Barber. I loved him. And I was heartbroken when he retired the year before we won the Super Bowl, and heartbroken after what he said about the two men that I love, Tom Coughlin and Eli Manning, on the way out. But I'm going to tell you what, if the team wins, you're going to forget about it real fast because you root for the team. You don't root for the name on the back of the jersey. You root for the name on the front. And as much as I love Saquon, it wasn't in the best interest of this team to sign him to the deal that they did. I think the Giants made the right decision. Everything's going to be okay. I can't guarantee you when this team's going to be good again. Because every year I'm like, all right, this might be the year. It might be another 10 years. It might be another. I might be dead by the time this team gets good again. I hope not. I don't think so. But eventually it will get better. And I do think it was the right move. And hopefully the New York Giants continue to address the trenches, which it looks like they're going to do. And hopefully the Eagles stink. But I don't think they will, Nick. But stand up. I will say they're starting to lose some pieces on that offensive line, which is really the driving force, to that team. It really is the driving force. They lost Jason Kelsey. We'll see how it goes. But let's take a look at the poll and see what people are saying, man. I'm curious. 65%, 66% said Malik Neighbors. It's close, though. 66% said, not that close. But I bet you if I would ask this poll 2 weeks ago, it would have been a bigger disparity. 66% say Neighbors, 34% say Adunze. I think I'm with you guys. I'm still leaning Neighbors, but I would not be upset at all with Adunze. He's really good. Really good. What about Knicks versus Penix? I don't even think I need to post that. I think most Giant fans would pick Penix. It just seems like Giants fans don't like Knicks. It just seems that way. Payback, what's going on, man? He says, Neighbors plays mostly in the slot. Rome is a true X. Yeah, I think Neighbors is a guy, but the thing is, man, I think Adunze is capable of playing. I think he can do multiple things. He's more athletic than I thought. I don't think he's strictly a guy that has to play on the outside. And I think it's the same thing with Neighbors. I think both those guys are not. They're not necessarily like Wandell. To me, is a guy that has to live and die in the slot. I don't feel that way with Neighbors. Neighbors is a guy that you can move around. I think Neighbors is a better fit, but I think they're both great players. Frank says, I agree. I take Neighbors over Adunze at 6. If I could get a first, I'd trade down to Denver. Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, I'd take at that spot, or Cooper. Brian Thomas is a really both those guys are really good wide receivers. Not in the class of the guys that are going to go at the top, but it's a deep wide receiver class. Wouldn't be upset with the dude from Iowa either. He's a really good corner too. So I think they probably. I don't know what they do at that point. You go BPA if you drop to 12. I don't know what they would do, but there's so many possibilities. Who falls, right? Is it Bowers? There's a lot of possibilities there, but we'll see on draft night if they do drop back. Could someone please tell me what the direction of this team is? Burns is cool, but quarterback and wide receiver being mocked to us seems absurd when it comes to a team need and state of the franchise. Well, John, let me ask you. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm genuinely curious. What do you want at the 6th pick if it's not a quarterback or a wide receiver? I'm assuming a line, right? I'm assuming you want a lineman, John, which I don't hate you for that. You know, if you watch my channel, you know I love the line. I wouldn't be upset if they took Joe Alt. I'm assuming if you don't want a quarterback or wide receiver, what else would you want? Those are the only, I think, 3 remote possibilities with that pick. Unless you're trading down, then it becomes more. You could go several other ways, but I mean, I think a quarterback is always something you got to explore. If you're picking at the top of the draft, then it's a strong quarterback class. I'm not saying to force it, but I think it's something you got to explore. And I'm a big believer in drafting towards the strengths of the draft. And most people would tell you the strengths of the draft are quarterback and wide receiver at the top of the draft. And those are important. I mean, wide receiver is one of the 4 or 5 most important positions. I'm not saying it's the most important, I agree. If what you're insinuating is the line is more important, I agree with you. I think it is, but I'm a big proponent of drafting towards the strength of the draft, and wide receivers are the strength of this draft at the top of the draft. Let's see. And Drew says, I do not see the logic of wide receiver 6 with no quarterback in week 0 line. Either quarterback or trade back for a first next year. He'd be a free agent by the time we were any good. Okay. I mean, if the trade's available, I just said it, man. Somebody asked me, what would you rather? Trade back to 12 and get a future first, or stay at 6? I would rather trade back and get a future first. So I'm not again. We don't know if the trade's available, but I don't disagree with that. But I'm also not going to say that drafting a Malik Neighbors, if you feel he is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver, is not something that could help this team long term. I get the argument that you're going to say is what you just said, basically. You don't believe in the quarterback right now, which I cannot blame anybody for feeling that way. Guy can't stay on the field. And last year, he didn't play well in the limited time that he was on the field. And the offensive line still stinks. So I can't blame you for feeling that way. But for me, that pick is about the next 5-6 years. If you could get a number 1 wide receiver and build your line accordingly over the next 2 or 3 years, I think that pick could be well worth it. But I get it. The quarterback's more important. Having the offensive line established is more important. But having a number 1 wide receiver in today's NFL is very important. I'm not a huge wide receiver guy. I don't normally love taking a wide receiver this early in the draft. But if you're not thinking a quarterback and you can't trade down, I do think it's the pick. I do, because I think it's the best available player at an important position. We need a number 1 wide receiver. But we'll see what they end up doing, man. We'll see what they end up doing. Yeah, I mean, Joe, I'm ready to give up on Evan Neal at the tackle. I just don't know if Joe Shane is. Joe Shane took him 7th overall. The way he's talked about him, it has led me to believe he's probably going to be the right tackle next year. I'm not against it. I'm not against it if they elect to go that route, if they want to go with a tackle at 6. But, I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. Let's see. Wouldn't you like to see what DJ could do with a great receiver in time in the pocket where he is? I mean, of course I would like to see that. I just don't know if we're going to get that opportunity. But, yeah, of course I'd like to see it. How would you – I don't want to trade for T. Higgins. MY Giants 26 says, if our pass rush it hits its full potential as a top 5. I mean, I'd have to really look around the league. I mean, the Niners still have, a great D-line. The Eagles just improved their D-line even more today. I'd have to really look around the league, but it certainly has the capabilities of being a well above average defensive front. I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau should be really good. And you have to think getting a guy like Burns is only going to help him. Dexter Lawrence is arguably the best interior defensive lineman in football. I mean, maybe not, but he's certainly up there. So, yeah, it has the makings of a really good pass rush. But the proof's in the pudding. We got to see it first. Let's see. They really like JJ. I'm sorry, Giant fan for life. We'll find out, man. Competitive says, who's the best quarterback for next year's draft? I mean, I don't know right now. I mean, most people would tell you Shedeur Sanders right now, probably. But it's too early, man. Like, nobody had Jaden Daniels as even a near first round pick going into last year. So it's way too early, man. Like, I know a lot of people are already saying it's a weak quarterback class. You don't know that. I mean, it's clearly probably not going to be as strong as this one. Because Caleb Williams, you'd have to be blind not to know that guy at least is a great prospect as soon as you saw him. Drake May has been highly thought of for a long time. So I don't expect it to rival this class, but it certainly could be better than people are projecting right now. But, I mean, right now, Shedeur Sanders is going to be a guy that most people would have near the top. And MYG31 says, we need to trade Azeez now since we traded for Brian Burns. What are you going to get for Azeez Ojulari? What are you going to get for Azeez Ojulari? You couldn't get a can of Coke for Azeez Ojulari. You might get a medium Pepsi. You might get a free medium Pepsi if you traded Azeez Ojulari right now. The guy can't stay on the field. The guy can't stay on the field. What are you going to get for Azeez Ojulari? Nobody's trading for Azeez Ojulari. You keep Azeez Ojulari on the squad right now. You hope he could be an impactful player as a situational edge rusher. Maybe he ups his value. Maybe you're able to get a comp pick, in the offseason. But no, I mean, there's no value right now to trade Azeez Ojulari. You let him play out the season, you see what he could be. I mean, Ron, right now, if more than likely, if a team needs a quarterback, more than likely, yeah, I think at least as of now, you would project him to be the first pick. Jackson Dart, I've seen him. He plays at Ole Miss, if I'm not mistaken, right, Tanner? I've seen him. He was a pretty highly thought of quarterback prospect coming out out of high school. I like J.J. McCarthy more than him, personally. But, yeah, as of now, he's probably one of the 2 or 3 highest thought of quarterback prospects. I don't know how high he'll go next year. But I've seen him. He's solid. Let's see. Tanny, see my comments above? You think that it's plausible or they go for a starter in free agency? Let me see what you said above, JD. Hold on one second. Let me see what you said above. Let's see. I don't mean to miss something. I'm still looking, JD. Dane Belton, is that what you're talking about? Dane Belton seems to be a good fit for Bowen. Tall, ball hawk safety. Yeah, I mean, when we drafted Bowen, that was the book on him, right? Like, he was a guy. He seemed like a guy that you could play in a variety of ways at the safety position. Similar to a guy like McKinney, obviously not nearly as high of a prospect as him, but yes, that was the book on him coming out. Like he was a guy that played I think he played like 4 different positions, if I'm not mistaken, his last year in college. Giants may give him the job they did with Jason Pinnock last season with a pass rush. You want ball in those DB. I think right now, JD, I think those are the 2 starting safeties. I mean, that could change. We may sign another safety in free agency, but right now, if I had to guess, I think those are the 2 starting safeties. And I think we're going to add a veteran corner in free agency. That's what I'm leaning. I think Pinnock and Belton are the projected 2 starters right now. Might change, might sign a safety, but right now those are the 2 starters. Let's see. Cam Ward, the Miami transfer, is also a quarterback. Yeah, he was. People were talking about him this year. I don't know if he was draft eligible this year. He obviously didn't come out, but yeah, people were talking about him this year. I think I've seen him play like 1 game start to finish in college. I haven't watched a ton of Cam Ward. I've seen highlights, but I haven't seen a ton. I've seen a good amount of Dart. I've probably seen 3 or 4 Ole Miss games. Let's see. Scott Young says, at some point we need to find another tight end, draft or free agency. Yeah. I mean, especially if Darren Waller retires, that's another potential hole we need to fill. We'll see. We really finessed the Seahawks. That was a great trade by Joe Shane. By the way, I'm going to do this again tomorrow. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be more deals that go down tomorrow. So same time, probably. I'm going to try to start as early as I can at work. So my hours are flexible. So I could start as early as 8 a.m., be done by 4:30, eat dinner at 5, and then go live around the same time. So I'm probably going to do the same thing tomorrow. Go live about 5:45, hang out with you guys for a good 2.5 hours or so. Just hang out, watch the free agent sign, recap the free agents that signed throughout the day, and we'll see where it takes us. I always love doing these streams. And then once the dust clears, we see the team, I'll probably do a video and talk about all the holes we filled and where I could see us going in the draft. But I appreciate all you guys for being here, man. I love all you guys. What makes Caleb so great? He's always been inserted into a great system since P. I mean, I actually disagree, Fabian. I listen. He was in a great. Well, yeah. Lincoln Riley historically has a great system. You're correct from that standpoint. Yeah, great system, right? Well, he was, with him at Oklahoma, then at USC. I get that. But the USC offensive line is atrocious if you watch USC play this past year. Caleb Williams was getting the USC offensive line looked like the New York Giants. Horrible. But yeah, if you're talking strictly about the system he played in, sure. But their offensive line was abysmal. Let's see. What's the Brian Burns chat been? Listen, I think we're all excited, man. We're happy. We're happy with with that move, man. We're happy with that move. Barkley's not worth $37 million. Well, he's certainly not worth $37 million for us. Could he be for them? Maybe. Not from us. Let's see. Let us not forget that we lost our best coach, Bobby Johnson. That's a good point, James. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Giants need to improve their wide receiver. Well, they need to improve everything. If 2 out of the top 6 quarterbacks work out, I'll be surprised. I mean, that's the way it usually works, Big Joe. Right? I mean, it's a crapshoot. It's the most unpredictable position in professional sports. That's the way it usually works. It's a crapshoot. And a lot more of it has to do with where the players go than some fans want to admit. But it's a crapshoot, man. Chris, man, thank you very much, man. Out of the remaining Giants free agents, who would you want them to re-sign back? I mean, who's like a prominent free agent that's left? I mean, you want to say Simmons? Who? Let me look at the Giants' remaining free agents. I mean, the 2 big ones obviously have now left. Let's see. Let's look at the Giants' remaining free agents. Let's pull it up for the chat. And you guys tell me who you would entertain bringing back for this team. Not many players. The team was awful last year. But let's look at it. Who would you even entertain bringing back? Adoree Jackson, no. Glowinski, we already cut. Tyrod Taylor, I'd be open to it. I don't think he wants to come back after us starting DeVito and costing him money. Simmons is probably a name a lot of people are going to say. I don't think Robinson's a great fit probably in this defense. He was a better fit for Wink as a pure run stuffer. Paris Campbell's not coming back. Not much, man. Not much, man. There's not many players here that I'd want to bring back. I would have been open to Bredesen. I guess I'm still open to Bredesen if it's a really cheap deal, but we just signed 2 guards. Not much, man. There's not much I want coming back here that's left. Tyrod Taylor I'd be fine with. I just don't think he'd want to come back. Let's see. Jacoby Brissett signed with New England. That makes sense. That's where he started. That's actually a really good fit for Jacoby Brissett because he's going to get I wouldn't say it's a really good fit because their team stinks, but he's going to get the start. He's going to get the start at least probably the first 6 weeks or so. Maybe he plays well. Maybe a team trades for him and he gets an opportunity there. You got to think New England's probably drafting a quarterback. But you know what that's going to do now? That's going to start to get fans amped up. They're going to say, well, if they sign Jacoby, I don't know what the deal is, but they're going to say if they sign Jacoby, maybe that means New England's going to trade out of the pick. I don't think one way or the other with that. It makes just as much sense to sign him for the rookie as it does if you don't want to draft the quarterback. Danny says, hot take, Giants draft Brock Bowers. Hot take for you, Danny. If the Giants draft Brock Bowers at 6, I'm completely fine if they take him at 12. Hot take for you, Danny. If the Giants draft Brock Bowers at 6, I will end my stream within seconds. I won't want to have another flip out moment. I would end my stream within seconds. I would have to cool out for about 30 minutes, and then I would come back on live. That would be my reaction if we drafted Brock Bowers. I would not be happy if we did that. Not at 6. Payback, man. Thank you very much, man, for the $2 donation, man. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's see. As an FAU student, I'll tell you right now, Devin Singletary is a stud. I like Singletary. I think it's a solid pickup. What do you think the Patriots are going to do since they traded Mac Jones, and what could that mean for the Giants? I'm not reading too much into it one way or the other. Like, there you go. 1 year, $8 million. So I think from a Giants perspective, what's most interesting there is that's the backup quarterback market now starting to be developed. So that's what you're looking at, about $8 million probably for a quality, very high quality backup. But I don't think that means anything in terms of whether New England will draft a quarterback or not. You would want a solid veteran presence for a rookie quarterback, right? So, yeah, I don't think it means much. Let's see. Some people are going to read into that and say they're probably not taking a quarterback. I'm not. Keith says, here's the thing. Jones won't be ready week 1, and quarterback at 6 feels like a reach. Go wide receiver round 1 and sign a quarterback in free agency. Drew Lock stepped it up last year. I think that's, Kevin, that's what I think is going to happen. If I had to guess today, I'm not ruling out anything. I'm not ruling out taking McCarthy at 6. I'm not ruling out potentially trading up for Drake May, who, by the way, if you ask me today, Chris, who's the guy that the Giants would want the most outside of Caleb Williams, who I don't even view as a possibility. If you ask me today, who's the guy that the Giants would want the most, I would say it's Drake May, if I had to guess. I think that's the guy they'd be willing to trade up for. He's the guy that most strongly resembles a Josh Allen-like prospect. Obviously, a guy that Joe Shane was very much on board with drafting in Buffalo. Brian Dable had tremendous success with. So that's who I think they would probably covet if the possibility presented itself. I'm not ruling out anything. But if I had to pick what's the most likely scenario right now, yeah, I still think we're going to sign a good backup. And I think they're going to try to push through with what they got for 1 year as they continue to build the team. That's what I think is going to happen. And they'll probably draft a developmental quarterback at some point. But I'm not ruling anything out. Let's see. John says, how about Alt at 6 over wide receiver? Would you draft a running back? If so, what? I'm not taking a running back until day 3. Round 4, the earliest with a running back. I'm not against Alt at 6. I just don't think it's going to happen. I'd be pretty surprised if we took a lineman at 6. I wouldn't be upset, but I don't think they're going to do it. Not a J-Tag says, I want Mitchell in the 2nd, going to be a stud. I don't know much about him. That's a prospect I'll have to look into. I don't know much about him. Wide receiver. I mean, this draft class is loaded with wide receivers. So if they're not going, I don't think they take a wide receiver in the 2nd round if they take one in the 1st. But if they go quarterback or if they trade down and go somewhere else in the 1st round, 2nd round wide receiver is certainly a possibility. But wow, he ran a 4.3, 4.40. Wow, that's fast. Yeah, I think wide receiver is, by all accounts, is the deepest position in this draft. So certainly a possibility if we don't go wide receiver in the 1st, we could go with him or one of the other plethora of wide receiver options in the 2nd round. Let's see. Leo signed with Seattle. Wow. How much? What did Leo get? I'm curious. What did Leo get, guys? Let me take a look. They haven't shown the contract yet, at least from what I could see. I'm going to guess Leonard Williams. He's 29 years old. You look at what's his name got a pretty big deal last year, the former Giant defensive tackle. Why is the name escaping me? He was with the Cleveland Browns. I think he got like $15.5 million a year. I'm going to guess Leonard Williams got. All right, here's my guess, guys, before the contract comes out. 3 years, $57 million. 29 guaranteed. Let's see how close I am. 30 guaranteed. 3 years, $57 million, 30 guaranteed. Let's see how close I am. I'm curious to see what he got. All right, I was pretty close. So apparently it came out. They got more than I said. 3 years, $64.5 million. What did I say? 57? So I said 19. He got 21. 3 years, 60. I'm not surprised, man. Dude, the defensive tackle market is expensive. Think about this. The Giants extended Dexter Lawrence last year for what? 20, how much was it? 23, 24? And he's like 5 years younger, and he's much better than Leonard Williams. We basically extended him for this almost the same price on a per-year average, a little bit more. And that contract kicks in this year. That was a great extension by Joe Shane. J-Tac says, Mitchell routes are as good as Devontae Adams, and he runs a 4.3. I would also like to see us get another vet running. I agree. I would not be opposed to, but it's got to be like round 4, round 5. But I'm completely on board with getting another running back. Completely on board. Yeah, Leo got 21, and Burns obviously a more guarantee, and it's longer, but he's also much younger. But yeah, $21 million for Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams kind of put Seattle in that spot. It was very much like the spot that Leonard Williams put the Giants in when Dave Gettleman traded for Leonard Williams in season. You kind of knew that the Giants were going to have to give him an extension. And it was probably somewhat comparable in terms of the mark. Actually, he might have got, I don't remember what the deal was, but it was a lot for back then. But it was a 3-year deal. But it was a very similar situation. They traded for him in season, which meant that they had the pressures of having to extend him. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. I was a little off. I said 19. He got 21, or 21 and change. Let's see. Hey, Chris, thanks for the stream. Do you have a preference when it comes? Neighbors, Andrew, but it's close. I'd be happy with either one. I can't believe I've been live for almost 3 hours. Holy crap, man. Yeah, I'm going to call it a night now because I got to get up early for work and I'm starting to get tired. But I will definitely be live tomorrow. Hopefully you guys swing by again. Same time. I'll set it up for 5:45. I'll get up early and work at 4:30, eat my dinner at 5, go live. I'll have a coffee next to me. Make sure it doesn't get too cold. We'll drink it without milk. And I had a lot of fun with you guys today. Always love when you guys pop by, talk Giants football. I'm excited, man. I'm excited for what the Giants were able to accomplish today. We get Brian Burns. We get that young edge rusher to pair opposite. Obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau. We get 2 pieces on the offensive line. And we get Singletary, who's going to be part of a platoon at the running back spot. So I think the Giants are spending their money wisely at that position rather than spending a boatload on Saquon. They try to fill out the rest of their roster. And we'll see what they do. I mean, tomorrow I expect potentially a corner. Maybe we get another sprinkle. Maybe we get something else. Maybe we get a linebacker. Maybe we get a wide receiver. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm excited to see what the Giants are able to do tomorrow and going forward. But Brissett signing with New England. Yeah, I saw that. And that's another spot. You got to figure the Giants are probably going to sign a backup quarterback. So who is that going to be? Your guess is as good as mine. There's some prominent names out there, at least from a backup standpoint. Tyrod Taylor, Ryan Tannehill, Gardner Minshew. So there's a few options there for the Giants. We'll see which way they go. But guys, have a great rest of your night. We'll talk tomorrow. Go Giants.